Alright, you and I are about to dive into one crazy post-apocalyptic system, Manhwa. Our main character wakes up confused, head throbbing, completely lost in a strange, empty place. Getting to his feet, he immediately smells a foul, rotting stench in the air. He finds himself standing on the roof of a massive building. But when he peers over the edge, the crowd below leaves him completely paralyzed with fear. Looking closely, he gasps. They are literal zombies. Terrified, the young man stumbles backward, his mind racing. How is this even possible? Just seconds ago, he was living in a completely normal, peaceful world. Desperate for answers, he frantically searches his pockets for his phone, but it's totally gone. Instead, his fingers brush against a simple bag of potato chips he bought at the supermarket right before this madness started. Staring at his only food, he laments his tragic fate. If he dies here, he'll at least miss having a girlfriend. Suddenly, the heavy rooftop door creaks open. Out steps a mysterious woman, walking silently toward him. He immediately hides, terrified she might be a zombie who somehow made it up here. But to his utter surprise, she stabs a water tank with her knife, using the leaking stream to wash off the thick grime covering her. He watches, baffled that a zombie would wash. But once her face is clean, he realizes she is just a normal human. Moving back, he accidentally steps on a rock, making a sharp noise. Instantly alert, she spins around and charges his hiding spot. He tries to wave and say hello, but gets a brutal fist straight to the face instead. She points a gun right at him, demanding fast answers. He shrieks, begging her not to shoot. Angrily, she demands his identity. But looking at this incredibly beautiful girl up close makes him intensely nervous. He starts sweating bullets, his mind going completely blank under pressure. Annoyed by his pathetic stuttering, she slaps him across the face, threatening to end him right there. As he cowers and begs for mercy, a grotesque flying beast suddenly materializes from the sky, diving straight toward them. Now pay attention here, this is where things get wild. She dodges just in time, while our main character barely escapes getting crushed by the diving beast. She unleashes a barrage of bullets, but this mutated monster is incredibly tough and barely feels the shots. She manages to damage its eyes, leaving it stumbling around blindly. With no cover in this tight space, they risk drawing a massive horde. Its massive frame and wounded legs slow its movements down significantly. As the creature lets out a roaring scream, she swiftly unsheathes her deadly, razor-sharp sword. Armed with a weapon designed to shred flesh, she prepares to strike. The beast lunges forward, and our main character screams out from the sidelines, warning her to watch out. Charging forward, she severs the monster's arm in one lightning-fast strike. As it collapses, she wraps her weapon around its neck to finish it off. She retrieves a glowing blue stone, pleased to find such a high-quality zombie core. She complains about getting dirty right after washing, then turns to our main character, calling him a total coward. She demands to know which faction he belongs to. Completely panicking, he mutters that he must have watched too many horror films. Convinced this has to be a dream, he nervously tears open his bag of chips and starts eating. She snatches the bag away, demanding to know how a weakling like him got his hands on such a precious elixir of life. He innocently asks if she likes snacks, but she angrily reiterates her demand to know his faction and the source of this valuable food. The cold steel pressed against him makes him realize this nightmare is real. Screaming in terror, he introduces himself as Qin Shuang, just an ordinary guy. He stammers that he just bought them at a local supermarket. Suddenly, a sniper bullet strikes her leg. As gunfire rains down from above, he hits the deck and asks if she is all right. She realizes the mutated attack was no accident, someone is pulling the strings. High above, a sniper mocks her, boasting to his team that using the zombies to wear down her strength first was an absolute stroke of genius. His lackey eagerly agrees, calling him a brilliant mastermind. However, another guard worries, nervously asking what they will do if she somehow survives and hunts them down. The leader laughs it off. That bullet was coated in lethal corpse toxin to ensure her painful demise. Qin notices her blackened wound, and she grimly confirms the bullet was heavily poisoned. While she boasts immunity to normal strains, this mutated corpse toxin is far more lethal. Without a miracle, she is completely doomed to die. She reveals the shooters belong to the 17th faction, seeking to steal her hard-won zombie core. If captured, they are both dead meat. Panicking, Qin asks her what their next move is. She offers to draw their fire so he can run, but he asks how she will survive. She explains that without penicillin, she cannot heal, cannot run, and will soon turn into a monster. She begs Qin to find her sister and run far away. I know what you are thinking, basic penicillin to cure a zombie virus. Qin is just as confused, but she snaps that it's incredibly rare here. She plans to create a smokescreen to cover his escape through the rooftop door. Urgently, She tells him where her sister is hidden and hands him a slip of paper with her location. As she opens fire, Kin takes his chance and runs. Clutched in his hand is the note. He feels terrible leaving her behind to die when, in his home world, simple penicillin is sold over the counter at any corner store. Suddenly, a glowing system prompt appears, asking if he wants to activate the dimensional transfer protocol. Realizing he stopped, she screams at him to keep running. Kin desperately asks the system if he can return here afterward. Once it confirms, he initiates the transfer. In the blink of an eye, the post-apocalyptic world vanishes, and he opens his eyes inside a quiet hospital bed. While the normal city outside is busy, the hospital halls are packed with medical staff. Kin jumps out of bed, frantically searching for penicillin. While back in the apocalypse, the wounded girl slumps against the wall. She prays Kin will make it to her sister in time. Hearing her gunfire cease, the enemy leader assumes the toxin has paralyzed her. He orders his squad to move in and claim their valuable prize. Back in his world, a nurse yells at him to stop running. Ignoring her, his eyes lock onto a cart loaded with penicillin. He snatches a handful of vials and bolts before anyone can stop him. He commands the system to switch dimensions, instantly teleporting right back to the rooftop beside her. He gently shakes her shoulder, hoping he is not too late. She weakly screams at him for coming back instead of escaping, but he proudly holds out a fresh, sterile vial of penicillin. Completely stunned, she asks where on earth he got it. He tells her to stop asking questions and just take the real medicine. He promises she is not going to die and they will escape this place together. Hesitant but desperate, she accepts the medicine. Kin watches her anxiously, asking if the cure is starting to work. Moments later, the black veins recede and the deadly poison leaves her system. Amazed, she asks Kin how his penicillin is so incredibly potent. Suddenly, the rooftop door handles rattle violently. She shoves him away, commanding him to hide. Kin tumbles down a dark ventilation shaft, groaning about his aching back and her terrifying strength. Meanwhile, the 17th faction heavily armed troops breach the roof. The smug leader orders his men to secure her body, joking they can have some fun with her corpse. But she steps out, unsheathed sword in hand, coldly asking if they were looking for her. The leader is dumbfounded that she is alive, let alone standing. As she unleashes her wrath, sending them fleeing, Kin realizes he definitely does not need to worry about her safety anymore. Hiding in the shafts, he spots a dusty notebook resting on a desk and opens it up. The cover reads as an adult diary. Skimming through the entries, he quickly realizes the author was completely insane. An entry from July 21st, 2080, details him watching a gorgeous neighbor wash clothes. The next day, a new manager with a stunning figure sat near his desk at work. He was so captivated by her body that rumors of a deadly virus did not even faze him. But his obsession turned into a nightmare when that very manager became a zombie and hunted him down. And that's where we leave it for today. You and I just witnessed a wild start to this apocalypse. What do you think happens next? Let's find out together in the next one. All right, you and I are about to dive into an absolute masterclass of a survival story. On July 25th, 2080, this guy hit his limit. Deserted streets, empty stores, and chaotic fights for food. People went completely feral, grabbing anything they could. He managed to snatch some supplies, but then bam, he watched someone get brutally bitten right in front of him. By August 3rd, 2080, the television signal went totally dead. The last anchor warned that they were all doomed. By August 17th, his food completely ran out, but stepping outside meant certain infection. Starvation was clawing at him. Suddenly, a woman screamed in the building opposite his. He watched in horror as she was attacked and brutally slaughtered by her own husband. The boy stared, confused, until the sickening truth hit him. The husband was actually eating her. He looked completely feral. The boy threw up from sheer disgust. By August 19th, after 4 days without a bite, he was fading fast. Just as hope faded, a sudden knock rattled his door. A desperate survivor was begging for penicillin, offering a massive pile of food in exchange for just a little medicine. Apparently, this medicine was a miracle cure against the outbreak. But on August 21st, he saw someone eating a dead zombie. Was that even edible? Disaster struck on August 30th when thugs robbed him of his remaining penicillin, his absolute lifeline. By September 1st, he had no choice but to brave the zombie-infested streets. He needed to stay strong, find food, or resort to eating the dead. Confronted by a zombie, he drew his blade. It was a simple choice, kill or be killed. And that was where the diary abruptly ended. Now pay attention, because here is where our main character, Kin, makes a massive realization. The diary owner never returned. He died. But now, Kin knew how this apocalypse worked and how valuable penicillin really was. In that wasteland, it is worth way more than gold. But since he can buy it easily back in his peaceful modern world, He is basically a god-tier billionaire over there. Suddenly, the hostile leader of the 17th faction aims a gun straight at Kin. He realizes Kin has a whole stash of the miracle penicillin that saved the girl. Holding a bottle, the thug gloats about the massive promotion he will get. As the leader prepares to pull the trigger, Kin desperately shouts that he has plenty more. Suddenly, the girl bursts in, screaming at them to hold their fire. The thug barks at her to back off. Weapon ready, she threatens to slice his head clean off if he touches Kin. She points out that their commotion has already drawn a horde of zombies, and escaping together is their only shot at surviving. Linger any longer, and they are all dead meat. Retreating to the rooftop, the thug keeps Kin held at gunpoint while the fierce girl demands his immediate release. Furious, the man spits out her name, Xiao Yonglin, cursing her for killing his crew. He suddenly shoots a grappling hook to a nearby structure, shoves Chin toward her, and makes a swift escape. The escaping villain yells that next time, she will be zombie chow. Xiao furs with rage, but our boy Kin, he is totally enjoying being safely wrapped up in her arms. She dryly asks Kin how long he plans on holding onto her. Outside, the night streets are crawling with undead. Peering through a window, she notes they must escape this infested zone, but first, they need rest. But first, she demands answers. Who is he, and how does he possess such rare supplies? Kin realizes that while she seems trustworthy in this brutal wasteland, he must watch his words very carefully. He needs a quick distraction. Kin casually tosses her another precious bottle of penicillin, leaving Xiao completely speechless. He claims it is just a small token of gratitude for saving his life. Chin promises that sticking by his side comes with massive perks. Stunned, she asks if he is actually serious. He tells her not to be shy, because he can easily get his hands on even rarer loot. As Xiao stares in disbelief, Chin doubles down, boasting he can source any food she wants. Her mouth waters, and she desperately tells him to stop teasing her with talk of real food. Still, she argues she cannot play bodyguard just for snacks, especially since he could be a spy from a rival faction. Kin laughs it off, claiming he is just a peaceful guy who enjoys a luxurious, utopian lifestyle. I know what you are thinking, a lethal bodyguard is the ultimate cheat code, right? Seeing his medicine worked, she agrees to protect him, but warns that if he is lying, she will personally end his life. Kin playfully tells her to just call him Big Brother Shang. Now that their pact is sealed, he asks to pick her brain about this world. She agrees, ready to give him a quick survival lesson. The R virus wiped out 80% of humanity, causing total global ruin and slashing the population from 9 billion to just 1.5 billion survivors among endless hordes. Zombie cores hold plant and mineral traits, usable for energy or crafting evolution potions. These potions come in 3 tiers, carrying a 20 to 35% chance of unlocking superhuman powers. These cores can power devices solo or in connected grids. Curiously, while the adaptive R virus resists modern antibiotics, ancient medicine like basic penicillin actually destroys it completely. But since factories collapsed, penicillin is now incredibly rare. In this post-apocalyptic era, humanity has fractured into primitive, tribal factions. In their local area, 3 groups rule the 17th faction, Earth Builders and the Climbers. The thugs from earlier belong to the 17th, a brutal, reward-hunting gang who stop at nothing to survive. Kin nods, putting the puzzle pieces together. Xiao notes the zone is crawling with threats, and since she has to protect him, they must find a secure shelter immediately. She commands him to sleep while she keeps watch. As she sits in silence, Kin looks at her face and realizes she is a truly formidable, hardened survivor. Kin orders his system to return him to the 21st century, instantly triggering the dimensional jump. He blinks his eyes open. It was blindingly fast. A woman leans over him, thrilled to see him awake. He bolts upright in shock. The girl gently pushes him back down, urging him to relax. Recognizing his beautiful landlady, he asks what she is doing here. She explains he collapsed like a crazy person. She registered as his emergency contact and even covered his medical bills. Playfully calling him crazy, she insists on feeding him. Kin is left utterly speechless as she giggles, promising to cook him some noodles. Noticing his empty kitchen, she heads out to stock up on groceries, asking if he needs anything. Kin hands her a shopping list. Once alone, he immediately starts inspecting his bizarre primordial system. A glowing tattoo interface rests on his forearm. It is simple enough storage, dimensional jump, and power activation, but he wonders how to trigger the power-up feature and if it requires some form of fuel. Before long, she bursts back in carrying heavy grocery bags, complaining about being worn out. Kin leaps out of bed to assist her, but she sternly orders him not to move an inch. He is still recovering, after all. This girl is Zhang Lakshu, a ridiculously wealthy heiress. Anyone could see she has a massive crush on him. but being broke, he feels he cannot make her happy. But now, with this reality hopping system, he can build real wealth and power. Maybe they actually have a future together. Suddenly, the hospital door swings wide open. Jiang turns around, startled to see her arrogant uncle, Zhao, standing there. He claims her powerful father ordered him to fetch her for dinner. Furious, she insists she is too busy, but he completely ignores her protests. Zhao rudely shoves her out, barking that it is her father's direct command. He forces her toward the elevator, telling her to wait downstairs. She demands to know his intentions, but he slams the door shut. Zhao glares coldly at Qin. Our main character asks if he needs something. Sternly, the uncle snarls that they thought this matter was settled, yet Qin is still clinging to his niece. He sneers, asking if the previous payoff was not enough. He tells Qin to name his price to walk away forever, because her prestigious family will never allow a nobody to be with her. Qin calmly asks what happens if he becomes filthy rich. Zhao laughs, mocking his impossible dream. But trust me, you and I are going to love seeing this arrogant snob eat his words very soon. All right, you and I are about to jump back into this apocalypse, where Xiao wakes Qin up. The sun is up, and they have an hour to sprint across rooftops, dodging zombies to reach their safe zone. Soon enough, Xiao stops and throws a rock at a heavy gate. It creaks open, letting them slip inside their hidden base. From the outside, our main character realizes you would never even know it was there. It looks completely empty, but the girl urges him to keep moving. She rushes toward a heavily bandaged girl named Ruyu, excitedly announcing that she finally made it back with the life-saving penicillin. Qin is stunned to find out this is her sister. Xiao hands over the medicine, promising she will recover soon. Curious, the boy asks if this really is her sibling and what happened to her. Xiao explains that a zombie attacked her sister. She went out to hunt monsters and trade their cores for medicine, but got ambushed instead. Hearing this, a worried Ryu asks if her sister got hurt too. The girl reassures her, pointing out the friend who brought the medicine. Ryu weakly thanks the boy, saying she owes him her life. Flustered, our main character waves his hands, telling her it is no big deal. He realizes it is a miracle these two survived out here while monsters roam the streets. Just then, Xiao brings over some food, making our starving main character absolutely thrilled to finally eat. He eagerly takes a bite, only to immediately spit it out in disgust. The girl is confused, asking if it is really that bad since it tastes normal to them. Shocked, he asks if this is their daily meal. Confused, she asks why he is crying. He explains it is not the taste, but he just feels incredibly sorry for their harsh lives. He tells her to drop that garbage food and wait right there. Xiao complains that finding even this was tough, but he digs into his pocket and tells her to open up. He pops his sweet candy in her mouth. Instantly, she is blown away by the rich, milky flavor. You and I are diving into a wild apocalypse, starting with Qin asking why this girl is completely frozen. She makes a sound of pure ecstasy over his food, and when he mentions having more, she begs him for everything. She wolfs it down so fast she accidentally chomps on Qin's hand. Pulling back, she gasps that it is just too delicious and asks for more. Amused, Qin pulls out every single sweet from his pockets and piles them on the table. Ecstatic, Xiao hands one over to her sister, Ruyu, who absolutely loves the taste. When Ruyu asks what this magical treat is, her sister explains it is cream candy from the boy. Eating it makes Ruyu feel truly happy just to be alive. Xiao eagerly tells her sister to slow down since there is plenty left. Qin feels a lump in his throat, realizing how tragic their lives are. So he unloads a heap of delicious food. Shocked, she gasps that these are snacks they have only ever seen in books. Stunned, Xiao asks if all this is really for them. Qin tells her not to worry since he has plenty more. Blushing, she hands Qin a little gift in return. It is a pouch filled with zombie cores she collected. As they get close, Qin notices the strange mark on his arm starting to burn, hinting at some deep, mysterious connection. Now pay attention, because those cores are highly valuable. Qin accepts but asks if she is truly sure about giving them up. Xiao insists that his medicine saved their lives, and this food is worth far more than any raw zombie cores. She promises to pay him back the rest later, but Qin waves it off and asks for the bathroom. After she points him in the right direction, he finds nothing but a crude wooden square with a hole in the dirt floor. Qin notices the pit is incredibly deep, but decides to use it anyway. While inspecting the zombie cores, they react with his arm, sinking right into his skin as the system announces his dimensional jump has been upgraded. Now he can make 3 jumps instead of 2. Excited, Qin tries to charge up even more cores, but in a clumsy twist of fate, he gets distracted and drops them straight down the deep toilet hole. After successfully charging his system up to 9 dimensional jumps, he decides to save the remaining cores. But when he looks back down at the bag, he realizes it is completely empty. Confused, he wonders where they went until he stares down into the dark toilet hole and the truth hits him. Devastated and speechless, he walks back out. Xiao asks what's wrong, but he can only stay silent. Outside, the ruined streets are swarming with flesh-eating zombies. When dinner rolls around, Xiao serves up that same terrible, bland paste. Ken is confused, asking why they are eating this when he literally gave them a feast. I know what you're thinking, why hide a secret stash? She is utterly bewildered, asking why he would waste precious food like that. Kin tells her not to stress, as he has plenty of supplies left. Kin realizes summoning food from thin air right now would look incredibly suspicious, yet they need supplies for 3 people. He quickly lies, claiming he is a merchant with shipments coming. Xiao asks why he never mentioned this before. He honestly admits that he simply did not trust her yet. The following morning, Kin prepares to leave under the guise of fetching the goods. Xiao tells him to wait, handing him a tiny handgun. Amused by the tiny weapon, Kin asks why it is so small. She smiles, saying power matters more than size, and this little thing packs a massive punch. Refusing her offer of company, he says he will be right back. Meanwhile, Ruyu suddenly stands up, shocking her sister. Crediting the miracle penicillin for her quick recovery, Ruyu tells Xiao to follow Kin stealthily and find out where he is actually heading. His clean clothes and absolute ignorance of their survival rules just do not make sense. Generous or not, they cannot fully trust him. Meanwhile, Kin walks a safe distance away and stops. Activating his newly upgraded dimensional jump, he flashes back to the modern world. Waking up in his hospital bed, he immediately decides to escape because he cannot afford the steep medical bills. Walking out onto the city streets, he pulls out his phone. Unemployed for months, his bank accounts are completely dry. Even though we thought he was a wealthy savior, he is actually completely broke. He still needs to buy goods that are rare in the wasteland. But with no safe trade routes, the 17th faction would just rob him blind. Stick with me, because this crazy double life is just getting started. Alright, you and I are back. Kin scans his massive food haul, remembering his zombie protector told him about another faction that might actually help him survive. The cashier rings up a total of 1,054 yuan. Back home, Kin packs the haul into his system inventory, throwing in some spare clothes just in case. Dimensional jumps are incredibly expensive, so he has to watch his budget, especially after losing those zombie cores. Meanwhile, Joe's completely baffled at how Kin just vanished into thin air. Joe decides to wait it out. But when Kin finally spawns back carrying a heavy box to avoid raising suspicion, he realizes the entire area is suddenly crawling with undead. He freaks out, wondering why the undead suddenly swarm this place. He eyes a nearby rooftop, but the jump is way too far for a normal human. Realizing his mistake, Kin tries to retreat, but the monsters start scaling his position. Terrified as a ghoul lunges at him, he slips and tumbles backward. He barely catches a wire while zombies plunge below. Kin begs to teleport, but watch closely, his system weirdly asks if he wants to buy a climbing upgrade instead. With 7 skill points in reserve and this upgrade costing only 1, Kin curses his weird system but buys it anyway. Instantly, the new ability is unlocked. Suddenly, he can support his entire weight with just one hand. Walking along the thin wire feels like solid ground, making Kin feel like a real-life Spider-Man. As he glides effortlessly across the wire, Xiao spots him from afar. She thought he was just some regular guy, but Rui was totally right to doubt this mysterious kid. Kin lands safely on the adjacent rooftop and sees the streets below overflowing with ghouls. Needing a high vantage point to navigate back to base, he starts scaling the sheer walls like a gecko. Stoked about his crazy potential, he peeks inside the high-rise only to spot a horde of trapped zombies. The monsters go wild. We both know he shouldn't be mocking them, but he does it anyway right until the window shatters under their crushing weight. Alright, you and I are about to watch this kid kick off a wild fight, instantly decapitating a zombie. Our main character wonders when he got strong enough to do this barehanded. Another beast sneaks up from behind, but he easily takes it out. Trapped by a massive horde, he leaps out of the building to escape. That was way too close. This place is insanely dangerous. Realizing he feels too light, the boy checks his back only to find his bag fell right into the zombie swarm. He breaks down in despair. All that effort wasted, and his expensive supplies are gone. He spent his entire life savings on this, but it is his only shot at getting rich. He cannot give up. So, our hero heads back to the shattered window to lure the monsters. As they rush him, they lose their footing and a bunch of them tumble right out of the building. Peering inside, he sees the room is mostly clear now. He grabs his bag, thinking these undead monsters are actually pretty fragile until a strange sound catches his ear. Pay attention here, just as he thinks he is safe, a terrifying, giant beast emerges with a creepy grin. It is lightning fast. Paralyzed with fear, our main character gets slammed hard against the wall. Injured and struggling to flee, he hears the monster laughing. This beast is insanely fast, he cannot even track its movements. He could retreat to the safe world, but he would eventually have to return. Backed into a corner, he orders the system to consume all his zombie cores for an instant upgrade. He hits level 6, unlocking fearless focus and firm base skills. With his new stats, the boy narrowly dodges the beast. His vision is sharp, giving him enhanced speed and flawless timing. Yet, the relentless monster keeps pressing her attack. Even with his upgraded skills, his only option is to run. Frustration sets in as his stamina quickly drains away. He cannot keep this up. One slip-up means instant death. Hitting the ground, he sees the threat charging right at him. In desperation, he grabs a wooden stake and impales the creature, but the beast just shakes and laughs. Annoyed that it is still alive, he hears the horde outside getting wild. He quickly loots the monster's body and finds its core. Exhausted but relieved, he got his reward. Back at the base, our female lead watches him in shock, wondering how he survived. His skills seem to match her own. The gate opens, and he proudly walks in with massive loot. Her little sister approaches, looking fully recovered, and asks if her savior has returned. Stunned to see her without bandages, he asks who she is. She smiles and says her name is Rue. Seeing him covered in blood, the girl asks if he is hurt. He claims it is just zombie blood, but she insists on checking him over. Reluctantly, he agrees. As she gets closer, his heart starts racing. She is relieved he is uninjured but points out how filthy he is, announcing they need to wash up. He is totally caught off guard. The girl explains that water is scarce, so sharing is a must. She calmly starts bathing while our hero stands there, sweating bullets. She teases him, asking if he is scared. Her sister will find out. Confused, she wonders why her sister would mind, since they always share baths anyway. Urging him to quit stalling, she pulls him in, and he finally steps under the water. Staring at her smile, his heart stops when a shadow looms behind him. It is the older sister. She demands to know what he saw. Panicked, he claims he has been legally blind since childhood. Desperate to change the subject, he shows her the goods he brought back. He reveals some fresh fruit, explaining it is essential for a balanced diet in this wasteland. You and I both know the way to someone's heart is food. She is amazed by the banana, and as she happily devours it, she admits she absolutely loves them, leaving our guy sweating. The younger girl whispers that this feast feels like a dream. Her sister asks if he is truly gifting them such precious food, and he confidently replies that he keeps his promises. As long as she protects him, he will keep providing. The girl feels guilty, remembering how she hid while he fought for his life. Meanwhile, our hero explains he is broke now and needs a fast way to make money. Baffled, she asks why he wants cash, calling it useless paper only good for wiping your backside. He laughs and clarifies that he is talking about gold and treasure. She stands up, slides a heavy object from under the table leg, and hands him several solid gold bars. She asks if this junk will do. He stares in shock as he realizes it is genuine gold. She shrugs, saying it is completely worthless to them. If that is what he calls treasure, she has 5 or 6 more supporting their furniture. She tells him to just take them. That night, our main character falls asleep, smiling, dreaming of his new wealth, completely unaware of a shadow creeping toward his bed. He is dreaming of his riches when the younger sister raises a sharp knife over him. She drives the blade down, but her older sister grabs her wrist just in time, demanding an explanation. The younger sister whispers that ending him now means keeping all his food. But her sister reminds her that he saved their lives, bringing them life-saving medicine when they needed it most. You cannot repay a savior with betrayal. But the girl asks if she forgot how their last trusted ally sold them out to the 17 faction, leaving them for dead. She admits she would have ended him in the bath if her sister had not interfered. Still, the older sister defends him, pointing out he had no reason to help them with such rare medicine. Suddenly, waking up, he asks why they are both standing over him. Quickly changing the subject, the younger girl asks to sleep next to him. Stunned, he agrees, and her sister joins in too. He lets them stay but insists on sleeping in the middle. As the night passes, he rests happily between them. Suddenly, the younger sister pulls out a hidden sickle, but her sister quickly blocks the strike. Waking up from his sudden kick, he groggily asks what they are doing. The older sister casually claims she just wants to sleep close to him from now on to keep him safe. He accepts her excuse. The next morning, the younger sister asks if he is secretly some elite soldier. Confused, he denies it, claiming he is just an ordinary guy. Leaning in close, she asks how he escaped that massive building. Shocked, he asks how she knew. She taps her nose, saying she smelled that that place is a death trap where only elite fighters survive. She assumes he is incredibly strong. He laughs it off, thanking the older sister for lending him her weapon, which saved his life. Smiling, she boasts about her gear and invites him to target practice. At the shooting range, she playfully teases his terrible aim, asking if his eyes are broken. She gets close, holding his hand to guide his grip on the firearm. She advises him to relax his arm and breathe. Steadying his stance, he takes a deep breath and pulls the trigger. The shot lands almost dead center. Thrilled by his accuracy, he gets a system alert unlocking the long-range shooting skill. The system prompts him for an upgrade, but he remembers he is completely out of cores. He needs to farm more cores for his dimensional travel. He asks his companion if she knows where to buy them. She nods, pointing toward a trading post 2 kilometers away. The pair sets off immediately. Arriving at the outpost, she knocks, and a voice tells them to enter. But as they step inside, they find a gun pointed directly at their faces. The merchant chuckles, admitting he is far more terrified of humans than the undead. When our main character asks to buy zombie cores, the dealer demands to see what he brought to trade. Our hero slams a massive stack of canned food on the counter. And that is where we leave them today. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens when the dealer spots 21st century food. All right, you and I are about to see if caution pays off in this apocalypse. Laughing, the merchant admits Kin is pretty sharp, while Kin reminds him that surviving humans are always the real threat. The merchant returns with a bag of zombie cores, counting out 11. He explains that while normal food cans only fetch 2 cores, these brand new ones are easily worth 4 each. He owes 12 cores, but only has 11 on him. Kin generously hands over another can to make up the difference, but asks for a small favor in return to inspect a nearby gold bar. The man admits he is no expert, but it definitely looks genuine. Excited, Kim pitches an offer. Knowing this guy has connections, he wants to trade his food supplies for as much gold as possible. Confused, the merchant asks why anyone would want gold when it is practically worthless now. Kin simply tells him not to worry about it, promising to trade food whenever he brings more gold back. Kin recharges his system, bringing his total to 24 skill points. He instantly pumps 4 upgrades into his long-range marksman skill, unlocking Calamity Shot. This leaves him with 9 points, but the next level costs 16. Taking aim, the young man tests his new accuracy, easily nailing every single target. Eager to test his limits, Kin tries to activate his new Doom Bullet effect, but the system limits free uses to once a day. When Kin asks how to trigger it, the system tells him he has to shout Doom Bullet. Kin cringes, complaining that it is incredibly embarrassing, leaving the system genuinely confused about human behavior. Claiming it tailored the voice command specifically to him, the system ignores Kin's grumbling. Looking around to make sure the coast is clear, he raises his gun and finally yells, Doom Bullet. The high-speed projectile shoots out, leaving Ryu and Yanlin watching in utter confusion from outside. Kin is hyped up by the sheer speed, but feels let down when a nearby building looks completely undamaged. Was it just a regular bullet? Back at base, he decides he needs to investigate his skills more. Meanwhile, the girls are packing up heavy supplies and a startled Kin offers to help them out. Yanlin laughs it off, saying the gear is light work for them because they are evolutionaries. Kin is amazed, as she explains that normal survivors are nowhere near their level since successful evolution is incredibly rare. Intrigued, the boy asks if there are specific requirements and if he could actually become one. Yan looks a bit surprised before explaining that there are exactly 3 paths to becoming an evolutionary. First is surviving a virus infection, though that was much easier before the pathogen mutated. The second path is far more dangerous, consuming a raw zombie core directly. Assuming your body does not explode, there is only a 10% chance of success. The third safest way is an evolution potion, boasting a 30% success rate, which immediately grabs Kin's attention. Yanlin offers to guide him to the Builders Alliance. They are strictly business, so as long as Kin has valuable goods to trade, they will make a deal, prompting Kin to urge her to lead the way. The next morning, Kin wonders why Ryu is staying behind, asking if she just secretly hates him. Yanlin clarifies she is sitting this one out due to a vision issue as they look out at the zombie-infested streets. The girl notes that the undead hordes surrounding their base are growing, meaning a massive cleanup is overdue. Meanwhile, over at the range, Ryu trains while frustrated that she still cannot surpass Kin's scores. Suddenly, she catches movement outside. It is the exact building Kin targeted earlier, now completely collapsing into rubble, leaving her utterly baffled as to why it suddenly imploded. Down in a narrow alley, a lone zombie approaches and is instantly neutralized by Yanlin. She warns him that the main road ahead is crawling with monsters, so guns are strictly off-limits unless absolutely necessary. Crouching down, she rolls open a garage door, prompting Kin to ask if this is another one of her safe houses. She nods, explaining she has multiple supply depots, and they quickly speed off as hordes give chase. Watching the monsters trail behind them, Kin grows nervous, but Yanlin tells him to stay calm. She seriously asks if he is ready to evolve, warning him that even top-tier potions can still be highly lethal. Kin admits he has not decided on drinking it yet, but he definitely wants to secure one first. According to Yanlin, the Builders' Alliance functions like a ruthless merchant guild. There is no guarantee they will play nice, so he needs to keep his cards close. Suddenly, a monster slams against the window, making Kin scream as Yanlin recognizes them as highly dangerous red zombies. Don't blink, she orders Kin to fire, but a beast tears right through the roof. A frustrated Kin screams, wondering why his bullets are doing absolutely nothing. Yanlin explains that standard firearms are useless against red variants. Pinning the monster's arm, she orders Kin to floor the gas pedal while she climbs onto the roof to handle the threat herself. Slicing a creature in half with her blade, she holds her ground. But as more swarm the moving vehicle, Yanlin desperately fights them off with everything she has. She slashes through their bodies, but an undead hand grabs her ankle and yanks her off the speeding car. Crashing hard onto the asphalt, she closes her eyes as the horde rapidly closes in. Just as all hope fades, Kin stands before her, radiating immense power. He warns the beasts to back off his bodyguard, leaving Yanlin stunned as he obliterates the horde. But just moments earlier, he was panicking. It was a close call. A minute earlier, seeing her tumble, he threw the door open and leaped out. Sprinting toward the monsters at unbelievable speed, he cut down every single one of them. Kin even mocks the beasts for failing to dodge his shots, laughing as he promises to blow their heads off. Yanlin stands there, completely shocked by his sudden display of power. While happily gathering cores, his body suddenly begins to shake. It seems this extreme, high-speed movement is taking a physical toll on him, and he gets distracted trying to find a missing core. Wait, I know what you are thinking, they are safe, right? Well, think again. Yanlin screams at him to look around as a fresh horde surrounds them, forcing them to run back to the car. They sprint back to safety, and as Kin fires blindly, Yanlin warns him to conserve ammo against the overwhelming numbers. Within seconds, hungry monsters begin scaling and covering the vehicle. Furious, she slams the gas pedal down, crushing the creatures beneath the tires as flesh spews from the exhaust. But suddenly, the engine struggles, prompting Kin to ask why they have stopped moving. She explains that the undead are trapped under the chassis, completely pinning the car in place. Surrounded, Kin asks her how much ammo she has left, and she grimly admits it is almost gone. He has only 10 shots left, which are useless against this massive wave. His only hope is the Doom Bullet skill. He double-checks with the system, confirming his one free daily charge is still available. He asks how many extra shots his remaining points can buy, and finding out they cost 1 point each, he purchases 7 more, giving him a total of 8 lethal bullets. With his gun crackling with purple energy, Kin decides to save 2 points for a dimensional jump. He can easily teleport back to his world if things go south, but he cannot leave Yanlin behind. Without him, she has absolutely no chance of survival. Reassured by Yanlin that the reinforced car will hold for now, Kin aims and unleashes all 8 explosive shots in a row. She scolds him for wasting all of his ammunition at once, telling him he should have kept at least a single bullet. Confused, Kin asks why saving just 1 bullet would even matter. She quietly explains that the final bullet is meant for yourself, because nobody wants to be torn apart and eaten alive. In this brutal world, death is inevitable, and she just wants a quick, painless way out. Stunned into silence, Kin watches and waits, but his shots seem to have done nothing. The monsters are still standing, and to make matters worse, a heavy rain suddenly starts falling. Yanlin mutters that at least they have shelter from the storm, hoping the weather might distract their enemies. But the horde remains frozen in the downpour, and Kin groans at a sudden, foul odor. And that is where we leave them with wet, rotting flesh, creating a sickening stench, while rain slowly fills up the buckets. You and I will have to wait to see how they escape. Alright, you and I are about to watch a crazy zombie survival story. As they prepare to patch a hole, she warns that this heavy rain is about to bring something interesting. She explains that zombies are basically preserved corpses. Without water, they stay dried up and wrinkled. But once they absorb this rain, their skin will swell up, making them look exactly like they did when they were alive. But it is only temporary. They will keep absorbing water until their skin literally bursts open, making them look even more grotesque. Kin groans, complaining that he is getting totally nauseous. Yanlin tells him to look outside immediately. They already look human again. Staring at a zombie by the window, She wonders if that girl was once just like them, maybe even their age. Back when the world was normal. Kin asks what Yunlin would do if life went back to how it was. She looks confused, admitting she has never even thought about that before. If zombies never existed, she says she would love to run a quiet pastry shop. She asks Kin if that fits her, and he nods. Suddenly, lightning flashes outside, making Kin realize he can never leave her behind. He needs to find a way to escape. Once he recovers his energy, he can use his speed to carry her out. Just then, a massive bolt of lightning strikes, leaving the girl completely stunned. The lightning crashes down, exploding a nearby tree and blinding them. Another bolt strikes their vehicle directly, blasting the zombies away. Kin is left completely dazed and utterly shocked. The creatures drop to the ground, completely fried by the high-voltage impact. The girl urges Kin to help clear the bodies away, but he notices they are literally boiling hot to the touch. At sunrise, the path is finally clear. Kin is just glad they made it through the night. Soon, they reach their destination, where a lookout spots their approaching car and calls to alert the boss. The guard runs to wake their leader. Now watch closely, because this new place is not what it seems. At the gate, they are ordered to step out of the car. The guard asks where they came from and if they need shelter. Kin explains they are only here to trade supplies. Once inside, the leader demands to see their goods, and a guard places Kin's offer on the table. The leader inspects the single can of food before cracking it open. The girl starts to protest, but Kin reassures her. The man is just testing the quality. A slow smile spreads across the leader's face. The delicious aroma makes everyone in the room drool. The leader shovels down a massive spoonful, while the guards eagerly ask if it is good. Yan complains that he ate the entire can, but the leader just grumbles that it was over too fast. Kin calmly tells him not to worry since he has plenty more. The leader keeps stuffing his face. Yan complains that he has already wolfed down 8 cans that could have been traded. With a loud burp, the leader shrugs. He claims he is only 30% full before tossing the leftovers to his guards, who immediately fight over the scraps. Announcing how delicious it is, the leader decides to take them directly to the Lord. He orders a soldier to escort them to the waiting room. As they walk through the settlement, everything looks surprisingly peaceful with busy vendors. Kin asks if all the houses around here are actually occupied. The soldier nods, explaining they are all refugees saved by the Lord. Without him, they would be zombie food. Suddenly, a young girl is violently thrown to the dirt as an angry man accuses her of stealing medicine. The girl begs for mercy, promising she will never steal again. Seeing this, Kin steps in to stop the attacker, demanding to know why he is being so incredibly brutal. Furious, the man yells that the girl stole medicine, which is far rarer than food. In this city, stealing it is punishable by death if the Lord commands. To make matters worse, she has robbed him multiple times before. Luckily, he caught her red-handed this time. The man barks at her to hand over the stolen goods. The escorting guard tells Kin not to worry, explaining the city has its own strict system for handling thieves. Kin and Yanlin have no choice but to follow their guide while the man drags the weeping girl away toward the justice office to face her fate. Reaching another part of the settlement, the soldier explains that the Lord is far too busy to meet with them today. He hands them a key to a private room, telling them they must wait until tomorrow. The pair then heads straight to their assigned quarters. Out in the streets, an anxious elderly woman stops a passerby to ask if he has seen her missing granddaughter. The man snaps that he hasn't, but as she keeps begging, they begin to argue loudly. Terrified, the old woman cries out that her granddaughter has been missing. You and I both know who she is talking about, right? Kin immediately realizes it is the thief from yesterday. The soldier confirms his suspicion but tells him to stay out of it. Ignoring the warning, Kin steps forward to speak with the crying grandmother directly, telling her that her granddaughter was taken to the justice office. The grandmother panics, screaming in absolute despair. She weeps that it is all her fault because she was the one who desperately needed that stolen medicine to survive. The guard pulls Kin away, telling him it is finally time to meet the Lord, while the old woman rushes off toward the justice office. Inside a massive hall, an announcer informs the leader that a merchant named Kin has arrived. The Lord grants him entry. Kin is shocked to find him lounging shirtless, surrounded by beautiful women and piles of food. Coldly, the ruler states he only does business with people he actually knows. But his men insisted that Kin brought some incredibly delicious items. Kin steps forward, offering high-quality canned meats that everyone loves, inviting the Lord to try some. A guard passes the cans up, and the ruler eagerly digs right in. The rich taste blows his mind. He grabs the remaining cans, devouring them like a starving animal. He yells that this is 1,000 times better than any meat he has ever eaten, demanding Kin trade him the entire stock. Kin is thrilled. Grinning, the Lord asks what he wants in return, and our hero requests zombie cores, evolution potions, and pure gold. The Lord is briefly confused by the request for gold, but after his guard explains its value, he excitedly agrees to the deal. The ruler orders his men to fetch the payment. But before they finish, Kin mentions he has one final request. He explains that the girl who stole medicine yesterday is locked up and offers to pay her debt in full if they release her. The Lord asks his guard to confirm the story. Since Kin is offering valuable medicine to cover the theft, the ruler realizes they will not lose a single thing on this deal. The ruler agrees, promising his guards will escort Kin to the justice office to free the girl once they finish trading. Relieved, Kin offers his sincere thanks to the Lord. Soon, the guard hands over 10 kilograms of gold, 100 zombie cores, and 2 precious evolution potions. While the cores can grant him new powers, Kin knows his priority is returning to the real world to sell this massive haul of gold. He has no idea how much this gold is actually worth back home, but it is bound to be a literal fortune. The guard then hands him the official release order and offers to lead him to the justice office. He looks around, wondering where Yanlin went since she was supposed to wait for him. Nearby, a crowd of citizens has gathered, whispering in utter despair as they stare at a bloody scene. Kin wonders why such a massive crowd has blocked the entrance to the justice office. The escorting soldier aggressively orders the citizens to clear out, demanding to know what they are all doing there. Annoyed, the guard threatens to have the Lord assign them grueling labor to keep them busy. But a nearby official tells him to let them watch, declaring that he summoned this crowd to show them exactly what happens to thieves. The cruel executioner tells the crowd to look closely, reminding them that they only survive this harsh world because of the Lord's mercy. Everything here belongs to the Lord, and defying him means death. The girl's grandmother is on her knees, sobbing hysterically. Kin stares in absolute horror, clutching and crushing the useless release order tightly in his hand. Dangling right behind the speaker is the lifeless body of the young girl. Kin is utterly disgusted by this sick, twisted scene. Staring at her corpse, his rage boils over as he begins screaming at the official. Kin grabs his collar, screaming about the value of human life. The official sneers, assuming Kin is just a soft merchant. Trust me, you and I are about to see this system burn next time. Suddenly, he grabs the boy's wrist and brutally twists it until it snaps. Kin screams in excruciating pain. The cruel leader then claims that since the kid is an outsider, he will let him off, while his escort quickly bows and begs for forgiveness. Next, he drags Yunlin forward, asking if she was his partner. Stick with me here because everything escalates when the boss reveals she was caught trying to break into their prison. It seems she went wild after they executed the thief, and now the leader is debating whether to spare her life or put an end to her. The guard begs for mercy, explaining they brought rare food to the city, and losing them means the Lord loses those delicious meals forever. But the cold-blooded chief replies, he only needs to keep one alive. Realizing he is outmatched, Kin commands his system to upload all the zombie cores, gaining 200 skill points. He can level up 3 times with this. The system quickly uses 28 points to reach level 7 and 50 more to heal him. Kin realizes this monster actually intends to slaughter Yumlin. Capturing her so effortlessly proves his insane strength, meaning Kin's only real choice is to activate his extreme speed, grab her, and escape immediately. Hopefully, his stamina holds out until they escape. Triggering his high-speed movement, the boy bursts forward like lightning, instantly passing right by the chief to snatch Yumlin away from the guards. He mocks the guards, telling them to take a break. The boy is absolutely thrilled that his upgraded power lasts much longer now. Yumlin cries out his name in panic, but he tells her to stay calm and escape. The duo sprints far beyond the city walls, finally halting deep inside a quiet forest. With his energy completely depleted, Kin collapses, breathing heavily, knowing that was a close call. Yumlin tearfully apologizes, but Kin tells her she is not to blame, he should have moved sooner. Still, she sighs, explaining that nobody could have predicted that monster's speed, lamenting how weak she is because she could not even fight back. Kin asks if Chief Kichi is truly that formidable, and she reveals he is likely at level 5. The boy is confused to hear that a level 5 is considered so powerful. She explains that evolutionists start at level 1, and ranking up is brutally hard. It took her 10 long years just to reach level 3. While every faction relies on an evolutionist for survival, level 5 is rare. Legend says a level 10 could wipe out an entire city with a single blow. Kin realizes that even in this ruined world, monsters walk among them. He thought having the system made him invincible, but survival will be a steep climb. Now watch closely, because Chief Kichi suddenly corners them. Yumlin screams a warning, but Kin is brutally struck before he can react. Before the boy can recover, Kichi unleashes a savage barrage of heavy blows, brutally smashing his face. Yunlin screams in pure terror as the cruel leader asks if anyone gave them permission to leave his city. Knocked down and bleeding, Qin lies helpless. Yumlin desperately charges forward to protect him, but Kitchi ruthlessly swats her aside and grabs her by the throat. Cornered, Qin pulls out an evolution potion and chugs it down. Instantly, a burning agony consumes him. Kitchi looks on, amused, while Yumlin gasps, realizing he drank an untested evolution potion. The executioner bursts into mocking laughter, dropping the girl as Qin screams in utter torment. Wiping tears of laughter, the chief mocks Qin, asking if he would rather self-destruct than accept defeat. To him, the boy is just a pathetic, writhing insect. Qin can only scream in pure desperation as the pain intensifies. As his vision fades, he remembers his childhood. When asked why he always picked fights, the young boy defiantly answered that he refused to stand by while his classmates treated him badly. Instead of comfort, his father slapped him, demanding he stop school fights and stop embarrassing the family. People mocked him, saying he was born but never raised, as his father walked away with a beer. Years later, his boss abruptly fired him. When Qin demanded to know why, the manager coldly explained that it was normal for bosses to take interns out, and he should not have interfered. He was told to mind his own business. But walking home that night, Qin spotted a thug attacking a girl. He intervened, asking what they were doing, only to get violently shoved back. Refusing to back down, the boy did everything in his power to shield the girl. Fearing the police would arrive soon, the thugs finally decided to flee the scene. The grateful woman thanked Qin, begging him to visit a hospital, but he refused. Walking away, he warned her to leave this dangerous neighborhood. She chased after him, begging him to wait. She asked if he had a place to stay, offering him a room in her apartment. Qin admitted he was hunting for a home and asked about the rent. With a warm smile, the girl promised it would be cheap. Back then, she saved and fed him. But you and I are watching him now in this brutal apocalypse, being beaten half to death by Kitchi, who mocks him like a dead dog. Seems the evolution failed. Trapped deep within his fading memories, Qin is slipping away. The success rate for a level 2 evolution is incredibly low. Lost in his mind, he happily tells Jiang Ruoshu that her cooking is amazing and she should open a restaurant. Smiling, she replies she can cook for him every single day, making the boy blush nervously. She then gets up to retrieve a cake she bought earlier. Placing it on the table, Qin takes a bite and praises the taste. She mentions the chef won major awards. Suddenly, this triggers a memory of Yumlin saying she wanted to be a pastry chef. He snaps out of it, making Ruoshu ask what is wrong. Qin mutters that he feels like he forgot something vital. Back in reality, Kitchi drags Yumlin, who begs for death, but the chief refuses. Eyeing her face, he sneers about cutting her tendons to present her as a gift to the Lord. Suddenly, a bloody hand grips his ankle, tripping both of them. It is Qin, standing up, covered in blood. Furious, Qin roars that the villain isn't leaving alive. Grabbing Kitchi by his collar, he strikes him to the ground and unleashes a brutal beating. Watching this, Yumlin is completely awestruck. The mighty chief lies beaten on the ground as Yumlin rushes to Qin. He successfully survived the evolution. Smiling through tears, she admits she thought he died, but Qin chuckles, saying it takes more than that to kill him. But without warning, Kitchi's hand brutally impales Qin's chest. Yumlin screams in pure horror as Qin is hoisted into the air. Kitchi sneers, acknowledging that the boy's risky evolution was a success. Kitchi laughs, claiming a level 1 weakling can never hope to defeat him. Qin silently grits his teeth, and suddenly, a massive phenomenon begins. Kitchi watches in sheer shock as Qin's body starts levitating. The chief stammers. Unable to believe his eyes, Qin is manifesting the golden abyssal physique, a form unlocked only at level 10. Panic-stricken, Kitchi immediately spins around and flees, using all his speed to escape. The chief panics, wondering how a newly evolved rookie could trigger the golden abyssal physique. It is identical to the power he once witnessed. High above, Qin's entire body turns a glowing gold. Pointing a single finger, Qin unleashes his power. The beam of light obliterates Kitchi in a massive, earth-shaking explosion. Back inside the city, the local lord trembles, wondering what powerful entity is passing by to cause such vibrations. At Faction 17, the chief also senses this devastating pressure, while the climber's support group gasps in shock. Meanwhile, in the forest, Qin suddenly collapses, unconscious. Yumlin catches him, utterly panicked. She desperately tries to stop the bleeding, but he is losing far too much blood. Suddenly, right before her eyes, his wounds begin to heal on their own, leaving her stunned. Lifting him up, she is determined to find a doctor. Meanwhile, the city lord arrives at the forest, but the aura has already vanished. He nervously wonders what powerful being was nearby, hoping he did not offend them. At a medical clinic, Yumlin desperately pounds on the door. The doctor opens it only to be pushed aside as the girl carries Kin inside, prompting her to complain that she will pay for a broken door. Crying, Yumlin begs the doctor to save his life. The woman inspects Kin and notes how strange his condition is. When Yumlin asks if Qin Shuang will survive, the doctor sighs, admitting his vitals are weak. She cannot explain what is happening. A scan of his chest revealed a massive layer of mysterious metal covering his organs. While this metal somehow preserved his life, she has never seen anything like it. Worried, Yumlin asks if he will survive, but the doctor cannot make any promises. You and I will have to wait and see what happens, as the doctor advises, leaving him there for a few days. All right, you and I are jumping right back into the action. This faction leader is actually ordering his men to beat him up to help them get payback. Crazy, right? He reassures them that he won't retaliate, so they look at each other and start wailing on him. After the brutal beating, the boss realizes his men did not hesitate at all. Groaning, he knocks on the doctor's door. Dr. Xiao opens the door looking dead serious. The chief tells her he is injured yet again and needs treatment. She sighs, complaining that this is his third visit this month and he gets hurt way too often. He shrugs, saying it is just part of the job. Inside, Yunlin freezes upon seeing him. She remembers how he threatened her during their last encounter and wonders why he is here instead of his own faction doctor. If he realizes they are hiding here, he will call his men to surround them immediately. She needs to slip out fast. The chief tries to walk in, but Dr. Xiao blocks him, saying there is a patient inside. Heading back inside, Dr. Xiao is shocked to find Yunlin trying to lift Qin. The doctor warns that he cannot be moved, but the girl insists they must escape before it is too late. Suddenly, the door flies open. It is the boss of Faction 17. He draws his gun and fires a shot, but Dr. Xiao bravely throws herself in front of him. He roars that those two slaughtered dozens of his men and he is going to end them right now. He has already called for backup. Dr. Xiao snaps, screaming that he cannot kill anyone in her clinic. He is her patient. She warns him that if he harms her patient, he can forget about ever getting her medical help again. Furious and dead serious, she refuses to let anyone disrupt her clinic. Realizing she is not bluffing, the chief backs down. He points at them and tells Yunlin they have a few days to leave, but his men will blockade the entire zone. Xiaosong sneers, guaranteeing that the two of them will never escape his grasp. Now watch this part, because the plot is about to thicken. The system alerts Qin that he successfully reached level 5, but at a terrible cost, sacrificing 3 years of his life. Qin is utterly confused by this, but the system explains that to defeat such a powerful foe, he unconsciously sacrificed his own life energy. The voice admits it never expected Qin to become an evolutionist through sheer willpower. Qin demands to know who's talking. The voice claims to be an old man, adding that this evolution will unlock new system features. Still baffled, Qin asks why he was even chosen for this system. The voice simply replies that it believes he can go all the way, promising they will meet at the end of the road. A day passes. Dr. Xiao is absolutely stunned, calling his recovery pure magic. He healed completely in a single day, which she has never seen before. Still, Yunlin wonders why he has not opened his eyes yet. Agreeing that he should be awake, the doctor decides he needs a physical stimulus. She clocks the sleeping boy right in the face, causing him to wake up screaming. Qin asks if she is insane, but she shrugs it off. Yunlin tells him to put some clothes on. Later, Qin asks if Faction 17 has them surrounded, and she nods. She admits she could normally take on Xia's Song, but her injuries from the last battle are still holding her back. Annoyed, the boy declares he is going out to handle things himself. She tries to tag along, but Qin tells her to rest and focus on healing. Flash of a confident grin, and he says he can take them all easily. Outside, a lackey asks Xia's Song why they do not just storm the place and wipe them out. The boss replies that he made a promise to Dr. Xiao. Another thug points out the doctor will eventually leave to buy medicine, giving them the perfect chance to strike. Thrilled by the idea, Xiasong grins and tells them to execute that plan immediately. He orders his men to grab their weapons and slaughter Qin, but to capture the girl alive. Suddenly, the clinic door swings open, leaving Xiasong baffled. Qin steps out, telling them there is no need to wait because he came to them. I know what you were thinking, but check this out. Energy beams start swirling around Qin, making him look completely unstoppable as the gang prepares to attack. His status screen flashes to life, letting him scan his opponents. Every single thug is only level 1, except for Xiasong, who stands at level 3. But Qin is a level 1 perfect evolutionist. The system boosts his speed and physical power, bringing his odds of winning to 90%. He blitzes through the crowd, dropping enemies left and right until he lands a direct punch on the boss. Every single goon is laid out cold, leaving Xiasong completely speechless. Gritting his teeth in fury, he remembers that Kin was just an ordinary human when they last met. The boy coldly notes that if he had used weapons, they would all be dead, but he is feeling merciful. Kin demands they kneel and bark like dogs. Later, at a merchant's hideout, the trader hands over all the gold he gathered. Kin nods, pleased with the haul, and trades him several cans of food. Before walking out, he tells the merchant to keep hoarding gold for him, leaving the man highly confused as to why anyone would want gold. Most survivors trade rations for zombie cores. Now, Kin has 20 kilograms of gold in his possession. He tells Yunlin that he is heading out once more to scavenge for food and water. Next, he activates his dimensional jump. He wakes up to a frantic knocking on his door and opens it to find a terrified Zhang Luoxi. She throws her arms around him, crying that he had disappeared for days. He quickly fabricates an excuse, claiming he was tied up with business in a dead zone with no cellular service. She pouts, warning him that he absolutely must tell her before he vanishes like that again. She was literally on the verge of calling the cops. Laughing it off, Kin promises to make it up to her with a special apology gift. Zhang Luoxi insists she does not need anything and tells him not to waste his money. Kin tells her to relax because he made a massive fortune recently. He treats her to a shopping spree, telling her to pick out anything she likes, and they head straight to the mall. Zhang Luoxi hesitates, pointing out they are in a high-end luxury boutique, but Kin just brushes it off. He urges her to choose whatever she wants, prompting her to ask how he got so rich. Kin asks the clerk to showcase their finest luxury goods, and she presents an elegant pearl necklace. He gently fastens it around Zhang Luoxi's neck. Blushing, she plants a kiss on his cheek and tells him she loves it. Grinning, he tells the saleswoman to wrap it up immediately. He then tells Zhang Luoxi that he needs to stop by the bank to deposit a few items, promising to return in a flash. Inside the bank, he asks the teller if they purchase gold. She nods, asking how many grams he wants to trade. But when Kin unzips his backpack, the teller gasps, and the manager is quickly called in. The manager profusely apologizes for the delay and asks to inspect the gold. Kin casually gestures to the open bag. Eyes wide in utter shock, the manager looks inside as Kin tells him to test the 20 kilograms of gold. Once verified, the manager has Kin sign a few documents to complete the massive transaction. After he leaves, a curious teller asks how much they paid. The manager gasps, noting the 99.6% purity got him 6.6 million. Walking back into the boutique, Kin is stunned to find Zhang Luoxi in a heated argument with an arrogant woman. She claims the necklace belongs to her, but the stranger sneers that she has not paid yet. Kin steps in to ask what is happening, and Zhang Luoxi complains that the lady grabbed her necklace. The snobbish woman slams down a stack of cash, demanding to purchase it immediately. But Kin calmly drops a solid gold bar onto the counter, easily worth dozens of those necklaces combined. The entitled woman goes red with rage, screeching that the gold bar is obviously a fake. The clerk politely intervenes, explaining that the item was already reserved, so the rude customer cannot buy it. She neatly packages the pearls and hands them to Zhang Luoxi, leaving the woman to storm out. Zhang Luoxi happily suggests heading to the supermarket next, and he agrees. Suddenly, someone chucks a soda can right at Kin. It is a gang of tough guys sent by that furious woman, and their leader is outraged that they allegedly stole his girlfriend's necklace. The thugs corner them, shouting that the couple is looking for a beatdown. Kin quickly pulls Zhang Luoxi behind him. Terrified, she screams at him to run, but Kin does not even flinch. And that is where we leave it for today, with Kin shrugging off a squad of knocked out thugs. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. You and I are jumping right into a massive crisis for our main character, Kin. He and Zhang Luoxi are hanging out peacefully when her uncle suddenly crashes the party, tracking her phone. He coldly asks if she forgot her promise to her father. The uncle demands she come home immediately, but Kin steps in to block him, telling the jerk to back off. Furious, the uncle spits back that a nobody like Kin has absolutely zero value to their family. Her father is already hunting for a wealthy husband to marry her off to. The uncle sneers, asking if she remembers the brutal threat her father made if she dared to refuse. Her father promised to buy Kin like trash and dump his body in a river. Terrified for Kin, the poor girl agrees to go back, but Kin stops them. He asks her if they can be together if he gets rich. Laughing in his face, the uncle asks if he thinks having 6 million in the bank is rich. He tells him to stop dreaming and only return when he can pull in 600 million a year. Kin keeps thinking about that 600 million. To win her back, he needs that cash. He vows to get it. Meanwhile, at Base G04, a commander asks if a soldier finally located the target, and he says yes. But the Earth Alliance wants thousands of black crystals for it. The boss explodes at this crazy price, screaming if they are trying to bleed him dry. The soldier warns him to pay up or they will sell it to someone else. The boss realizes that even though it costs a fortune, if he can buy it and gift it to the right powerhouse, he will win massive backing and everything will be his. The boss agrees to the deal, sending his men to retrieve it. Far away, Kin finally returns home from his long journey. He is loaded down with bags and cases. Yellen is shocked by how much junk he brought back. As Kin lists his haul, Junglan is totally confused about why he bought tons of flour. He says it is to bake treats for them, remembering she once dreamed of being a pastry chef. But the girl coldly snaps that her only mission is to protect him, and nobody has time for baking. Kin gently reminds her that she is still recovering from her injuries and should rest at the base. Smiling, Ruyo insists on hitting the road with him. Kin agrees, but Yunlin steps in and completely shuts it down. She demands to know what her sister is plotting, asking if she wants to get Kin killed out there. Ruyo pouts, asking why her sister thinks she would be so cruel. Ruyo explains she is tired of freeloading and wants to work with Kin Shuon. They leave the next day and arrive at base G04. Kin wonders why the gate is so narrow, and Ruyo says it is for defense. It keeps zombies and enemies out. Inside the base, two guys lug a heavy chest. The commander asks if this is the ultimate treasure and orders them to open it. Inside lies a stone staff. It looks so basic that he wonders if they got scammed. But as he reaches out to touch it, they scream for him to stop. That staff is highly toxic. Even powerful evolutionists are affected in minutes, and a level 5 master can only hold it for 15 minutes max. The boss is shocked by its lethal toxicity, wondering why anyone would want such a weapon. He asks if they are absolutely sure it is real, and the soldier nods. They tested it on 5 normal humans, and every single one mutated immediately after touching it. The boss is pleased, praising his soldier's efficiency. Suddenly, a guard calls out to the commander, reporting that 2 traveling merchants have just arrived at the gates, looking to make a deal. They've got bags loaded with canned food. The broke commander is thrilled, calling this a total lifesaver. As Kin and Ruyo wait inside, she admits to him she has never visited this place before. He reminds her they need quick cash and there is no need to fear. Just then, the excited commander enters, apologizing for the delay. He asks to inspect their goods, so Kin unzips the bags. The commander gasps. Just one of these cans is worth an absolute fortune in the wasteland, and they have brought nearly 100 of them here. He signals his men and asks what they want. Ruyo demands zombie cores, gold, and fine jewelry. Suddenly, a soldier slams the heavy door shut. Sensing danger, Ruyo demands to know what is happening. Grinning, the commander says he just wants to talk prices. Then he barks orders for his men to grab them. Pay attention here. Because instead of running, Kin just stands there as Ruyo screams at him to flee. Kin sighs, wondering why wastelanders are always so greedy. He only wanted a peaceful trade. Suddenly, he blitzes through the guards with insane speed, leaving them frozen in pure shock. He scales the stone walls with his bare hands, using his insane leg strength to launch into massive jumps. Every movement is completely precise, letting him deliver devastating strikes at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, the entire squad is wiped out. The commander is speechless, seeing Kin crush his men solo, while Ruyo wonders how Kin Shuan got this ridiculously powerful. Panicked, the commander claims it is a big misunderstanding, but Kin is not buying it. After getting a brutal beating, the boss groans in pain, begging and admitting his massive mistake. Kin asks why the man forced his hand, saying he absolutely hates violence. Terrified, the commander promises to give them whatever they want. Ruyo angrily asks if they are seriously going to trade with a backstabbing snake, but Kin insists they will. Ruyo asks if he has lost his mind to trust this guy. Kin calmly replies that the apocalypse is full of wolves in sheep's clothing, but once you tame them, business runs smoothly. The nodding commander quickly agrees, claiming he has nothing but respect for masters like Kin. He then leaves them to their trade resources. He presents the newly delivered box. Kin stares at the contents, asking why there is a broken stick inside, since that is definitely not what he wanted. Nervously, the commander lies that he spent all of his savings on this stick, so he has to offer it. He claims it is a legendary weapon that dramatically increases damage, telling Kin to test it out. Kin reaches for the stone staff, questioning its true power. Meanwhile, the commander secretly mocks him, knowing that holding it for just 5 seconds will leave the boy fatally poisoned. He grins, expecting Kin to drop dead. But Kin suddenly stops and tells the commander to test it first. Panicking, the boss tries to back out, saying it is better if the master tries it. Kin refuses and demands he test it. You and I know what is coming. Kin wraps the staff in a cloth and orders the hesitant boss to grab it, making him back away in sheer terror. Furious, Kin roars at him to grab it barehanded. He drops the staff right at the commander's feet, sending him into a panic. Kin asks why he's so scared, revealing he knew its secret all along. Kin mutters that he offered a second chance that was completely wasted, so whatever happens next is on him. Ruyo screams at Kin to execute him. The commander tries to beg, but Kin grabs him by the neck. The boss desperately gasps for life as Kin glares with cold rage, flashing back to a poor girl he once saw hanged. The commander chokes, completely unable to breathe. Suddenly, Kin hallucinates the Justice Chief, asking if he enjoys playing God with someone's life. Shaken, he drops the commander. Turning his back, he tells Ruyo to grab their gear because they are leaving. The girl demands to know why he is sparing the guy who literally tried to murder them. She asks if he is just squeamish, suggesting he could easily poison him or slice off his head. Kin snaps back, telling her to shut her mouth. He takes the toxic stone staff as payment for the assassination attempt. Ruyo silently curses him as a coward who cannot even finish off an enemy. He has all these powers, but they are totally wasted. He cannot protect her sister. As they walk away, the bruised commander begs them to wait. Shaking, he asks if Kin can save his base. Ruyo snaps back, asking if they look like a charity. The desperate commander begs, promising they can take absolutely anything they want if they help. He cries that they are doomed without help. Ruyo asks if he is still playing games. And that is where we leave it, trust me. You are going to want to see if Kin helps them. Alright, you and I are about to dive into one of the wildest post-apocalyptic manhwa out there. To get a level 5 evolutionist on their side, they sent tons of supplies, but the greed never stops, and now they are forced to steal. He tells him to follow closely to see the truth. The man points out a ditch filled with several burned, lifeless bodies. The commander grimly reveals that these were his own men, all wiped out in a single day. Kin asks why, and the man explains that they lose fighters daily, but not to enemies. It is all because of their insane base leader, forcing them to burn the bodies to stop disease from spreading. Just standing near it makes your stomach turn from the horrific stench of scorched flesh. Ruyo asks if their leader has completely lost his mind, warning that he will soon wipe everyone out. The man nods, which is exactly why he decided to overthrow the tyrant. Kin realizes that is why he spent a fortune trying to hire a level 5 evolutionist, but one level 5 is not enough. They need 3. Their terrifying leader is a level 7 powerhouse. He roams the streets, bringing slaughter and absolute terror, ending any life he chooses with just a single move. He declares everyone must die. Back at the base, soldiers assemble before 2 elite evolutionists, and one of them notices the 3rd level 5 fighter is missing. He accuses the commander of lying. The commander quickly denies it, promising to explain. He does not have another level 5, but he has someone who can completely surpass levels. The elites look utterly confused. One of them points at a nearby soldier, but the commander explains the super evolutionist is actually Qin Shuang. The elite stares at the kid, highly skeptical, asking if this brat can really fight a level 5. The boy claims he has done it before. The man instantly bursts into laughter, calling it an absurd joke. He laughs that Commander Lai got tricked by a kid, claiming no one has bypassed level 3 since the apocalypse started. Qin admits he got lucky during his last level 5 fight, but he is still willing to test his limits right now. He promises to give up if he loses, even offering to pay the man 100 cans of food as compensation. He asks for the man's thoughts while wearing a special poison-blocking glove. Commander Lai tries to stop them, telling them not to waste their energy on a useless fight. But the evolutionist demands proof of Qin's power, or he walks. Now pay attention, because the real test is about to begin. Qin reminds his opponent this is just a friendly match, not a fight to the death. Standing face to face, the start signal finally rings out. The man immediately charges, but the boy quickly defends himself using a strange poison stone staff, the impact echoing loudly. Qin realizes that punch carried serious weight, and his opponent is incredibly fast. He needs to use his best skill immediately. The man mocks him, saying the kitten can run but cannot surpass level 4. A brutal knee strike sends the boy crashing down. He wonders if all level 5 fighters are absolute monsters, running away as the man yells at him to stop dodging like a coward. Glancing back, Qin sees the brute closing in fast. This is the perfect chance to end this with a single blow. He lunges with his stone staff, hitting the man, who does not even flinch. He proudly calls the technique the Bloodline Annihilator, but the man just stands there, unfazed by the attack. The worried commander asks if the elder brother is married, but the younger sibling tells him not to worry. Still, the commander warns that the staff is highly toxic. Suddenly, a blue light envelops the man as he flings the staff and Qin away. Qin crashes hard into the dirt, right before the brute rushes in with a devastating punch. Standing over him, he declares Qin the loser. He admits the boy has decent talent for a level 1, But beating weak opponents means nothing when he relies solely on raw strength with zero technique. He tells the kid to go home and train harder, then calls his brother to leave, making the commander panic instantly. The man promises they will still help if a real level 5 shows up instead of a useless kid. Now, I know what you are thinking, but a bizarre stranger suddenly laughs, agreeing that the boy is trash. Kin gasps in shock because this weird creature has stolen both his staff and his glove. The stranger claims Kin is using the weapon wrong, making the boy scream that the zombie is talking. The creature gets offended and snaps that he is human. Kin quickly apologizes, blaming his dizzy head. Commander Lai is thrilled to see his brother, Hojami, asking if he is finally ready to help. Hojami replies he is only here for that beautiful staff he has wanted for ages. Kin complains that the staff belongs to him, leaving the outraged eccentric to question the commander. The commander explains he bought it for a fortune but begs him to help them. The weirdo agrees, finally accepting the deal in exchange for the weapon. He tells the boy to stay calm, explaining he had no choice, but promises a massive reward if he helps. Kin agrees to stay under one strict condition. Once this mission is over, all trade deals must go through him as the sole supplier. The commander asks if he can really provide the needed food and medicine, and Kin confidently promises cheap prices for gold. The commander agrees, calling it a fantastic deal. Meanwhile, the level 5 evolutionist secretly struggles with pain but hides it well. Later, they gather as the commander thanks them all for stepping up. To keep communication smooth, he begins with some quick introductions. One fighter introduces himself as Fang Wu, boasting bulletproof skin, while his level 5 brother, Fang Wen, can freeze anything he touches. Another level 5 named Hub introduces himself with a giggle. Kin introduces himself as a level 1 energy gatherer, while Ru Yu introduces herself as a level 2 who can calculate situations just like a supercomputer. The man details their target. The base leader is a level 7 monster named Yi, whose terrifying ability to completely liquefy his body makes capturing him a nightmare. They will lure him into a trap room where Hojami will deploy paralyzing gas. While Fang Wu, Kin, and the guards hold him down, Fang Wen will freeze him solid before they seal him inside a box. Fang Wu approves of the plan, and Hojami laughs about them discovering his secret. The man then asks exactly when this operation is going down. The commander insists they cannot afford to lose more lives, scheduling the strike for the very next day. Time passes, and the trap is set. The moment they enter the secret room, the heavy doors slam shut. The leader immediately realizes the trap and asks if Commander Lai is trying to kill him, attacking with a blast of liquid. The furious leader attacks, but Fang Wu blocks it, shielding the commander. Hojimi tries to strike from behind, but Kin quickly pulls him out of harm's way, earning some unexpected gratitude. Kin snaps at him to back off. Fang Wu lunges with a heavy punch, but the leader slices straight through his skin, leaving him horrified that his ultimate defense got bypassed. The leader boasts that pressurized, high-speed liquid can cut through absolutely anything. Fang Wen steps up, freezing the incoming water, as Fang Wu hurls the boss away. The enraged leader targets Fang Wen, but Kin moves like lightning to save him. As Kin attacks, Fang Wu yells at the boss to keep his eyes on him instead. The man lands a solid hit, shattering the leader's form. This is their golden opportunity, and Fang Wen prepares to strike as Kin carries him forward. And that is where we leave it for today. He tries to freeze him, but a massive whirlpool blocks the attack as the leader liquefies to escape. Meanwhile, Commander Lai barks orders to seal the exits and trap Yi, but the rogue leader begins liquefying, leaving Fang Wen wondering what kind of freakish move is coming. Recognizing the danger, Lai panics and screams for his men to raise their shields. Suddenly, Yi unleashes a lethal, multi-directional slashing attack that slices right through their defenses. The captain falls, and Fang Wu shields the survivors. But Yi's ultimate attack completely drains his energy, trapping him in liquid form for a critical 10 seconds. This is Fang Wen's cue. He rushes in, unleashing a freezing blast to trap Yi before he can reform his body. With 10 seconds on the clock, Fang Wen fully encases the tyrant in solid ice. But just as they breathe a sigh of relief, the block begins to splinter. As Fang Wen panics, Hubai steps up, telling everyone to relax. He drives his syringe deep into the ice, injecting a deadly compound. With a sinister smirk, he promises this toxin will put the boss to sleep permanently. The ice solidifies completely, and the captain confirms their success. The tyrant is down. That night, the entire base throws a massive victory feast, with the commander raising a glass to toast their newfound freedom. Kin happily gorges on the reward feast, but when Lai introduces gorgeous women, trust me, our boy is completely out of his league here. Let's jump right into this wild scene. The guys are already hyped, but once these gorgeous women walk in, everyone completely loses it. One girl even teases Shin, asking if this young kid is really their base hero. Ruyo just sighs, thinking all guys are exactly the same. Before long, the whole crew is completely wasted, forcing the commander to order them back to their rooms. Two girls end up carrying Kin to his bed. Pay attention here, the girls find Kin adorable for getting drunk so fast, even teasing him about needing a cooling bath. Meanwhile, Fangwen is enjoying his company, praising Captain Lai for knowing exactly what he likes. They decide to just stay up chatting all night. Over in another room, Hojimi giggles, absolutely thrilled by how gorgeous Captain Lai's girls are. The girls get totally creeped out, but he promises not to hurt them. Meanwhile, Fangwu literally kicks his girls out and slams the door. Trust me, you and I want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right into Kin's room, where some girls are tending to him with a damp cloth. They figured he's out cold for the night, especially since the commander ordered them to take extra care of him. They plan to finish up and let him rest. But suddenly, something catches their eye, making them change their minds and stay by his side all night. Cut to the morning, and bam! A sharp slap to the face from Ru Yo wakes him up. Now pay attention here, because she is absolutely furious, yelling at him for having too much fun last night. Yanking him by the ear, she calls the poor guy a pervert and orders him to get up immediately, sparking a massive screaming match inside. Meanwhile, Fang Wu and Fang Wen are walking through the corridors. Fang Wen is clearly struggling with intense back and leg pain. His brother asks if he is doing all right, and the young man barely nods. Commander Lee wonders why they're heading out so quickly instead of resting, but the brothers have other missions to handle. Kitten promises to grab the base's essential supplies and return within 3 days. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Stick with me, we are about to dive into a massive conspiracy. Hum tells Kin that being a merchant is too small, promising fast leveling if he joins him. But Fang Wen warns Kin not to trust him. Alright, let's dive back in as we watch Fang Wu confront Kin about Ha Jiang's weak evolution, demanding to know where that mysterious younger boy went. Suddenly, Fang Wu tosses something over, catching Kin completely off guard. He asks what on earth it is. It is a walkie-talkie to keep them connected. He explains their group desperately needs talented guys like Kin if he is willing to join. To accept, he just needs to speak into it before they finally head their separate ways. 3 days later, a soldier alerts their new leader, Lei, that Qin Huang has officially returned. Lei immediately asks if the promised supplies arrived, but the soldier says he needs to see this with his own eyes. Qin rolled up with 3 massive trucks, leaving Lai completely speechless. Even though the leader demanded an insane amount of cargo, Qin actually delivered everything in just 3 days, telling Lai to go ahead and check the cargo. As they unpack, a worker admits he has never seen this much food before. With all these resources and fertilizers, their base can finally become self-sufficient, meaning nobody has to starve anymore. Now pay attention to this moment. Lai literally asks Qin if he is a god to pull off such a miracle. Qin just brushes it off, telling Lai to pay up if he wants these delivery runs to keep happening. A soldier hands Qin a small bag containing his reward. Qin is skeptical, asking why the payout is so tiny after bringing 3 whole trucks. But Lai explains these are rare black crystals, worth way more than standard zombie cores. Qin holds up a shard, and his system reveals that just one of these can carry 100 ability points. He is absolutely shocked that such a tiny piece holds so much insane potential. It is 50 times better than a normal zombie core. Lai mentions he also has the promised gold, calling Qin over while admitting they searched everywhere but could only find a limited amount. He opens a wooden crate packed with gold bars, asking if this is enough. Qin gladly accepts and thanks him. Later, back at the hideout, Qin tells Yumlin and Ruyo he is leaving for a few days before returning to the real world with his treasure. It is much heavier than his old backpack, but underneath, Qin uncovers a mysterious ancient painting. He tries reading the artist's name, but it is written in English. Trust me, you and I need to see where this leads. Qin stares at the name Picasso, thinking it is incredibly bizarre, before hanging the artwork on the wall. Later, 2 rich men admire it. One admits it is strange but totally worth the $200 million he spent. Meanwhile, another man reports that Zhang Laqiu is currently on the blind date they set up. The father tells Uncle Xiao to watch his daughter closely and prevent her from causing any trouble. Xiao agrees, then asks what to do about Qin Wang since they still cannot trace his gold supply. He suggests getting the police involved, but the boss says there is no need to call them. Turns out, the father personally approved the gold purchase because they need the resources. However, he refuses to let Zhang Laqiu be with him, demanding a far more capable son-in-law. Over at the date, the wealthy suitor asks Zhang Lui if she likes the restaurant. She gives a cold yes. He mentions her father told him she is always home, then invites her to his private island. But Jiang Luakui instantly shuts him down, showing zero interest. Desperate to impress her, the man asks where she wants to go, even offering a trip to another continent, but she refuses. She admits she only showed up because she was forced, with zero plans to ever see him again. Jen Locke stands up, calls him a cheap playboy, and refuses to waste any more of her time. As she storms out, the irritated suitor fumes over her disrespect. But pay attention here when Jiang Locke gets home that night. Her furious father is already waiting to discuss the date. Glaring at him, she demands to know why he is there. He asks why she refuses to call him father anymore. Jiang Locke coldly orders him to leave, threatening to call the police if he returns. Her father warns that if she keeps scaring everyone off like this, she will drive away every single candidate from the city's prominent families. An enraged Jiang Locke fires back that he only views her as an object for his own gain, because she already loves someone. The father sternly replies that the boy is a worthless nobody. Jiang Locke snaps back, asking how he knows Qin is unqualified when her father was also a nobody in his youth. She does not care about the business, she just wants happiness. I know what you were thinking, but things are about to get incredibly dark. The father cold-bloodedly threatens Qin Shuang's life, promising that the boy will vanish forever if she refuses to obey. She cries out that he is driving her to the grave, just like he did to her mother. He roars at her to shut up, but Jen Luxud screams back, exposing how his greed drove her mother insane. All right, let us dive into a crazy romance drama that takes a sudden dark turn. A sharp slap, eyes filled with pure hate, but in his room, Qin is just writing a shopping list. The doorbell rings. It is Jiang Locke. He asks why she did not call, since he planned to visit tomorrow. Excited, he promises that in less than a year, he will earn enough money to win her father's approval. She suddenly kisses him. Our boy gets incredibly nervous as she pulls closer. Qin backs away, telling her to wait. He asks if her father did something, but she tells him to forget everything else and just focus on her. Jiang Locke leans in, whispering how much she missed him and begging for a tight hug. Later that night, Qin is a nervous wreck right in front of her as she asks him to adjust her outfit. He helps her out. She happily collapses onto the bed with a sweet thank you. Blushing, Qin realizes just how beautiful she is. They end up spending the entire night talking to pass the time. Lying in bed, Qin reflects that he is 20 and has never had a decent life, but now everything has changed. Here is Jiang Locke, someone who is being incredibly kind to him. He feels so lucky that a girl like her actually loves an ordinary guy like him. He vows to protect her and bring her happiness, but when he looks over to her side of the bed, he finds a confusing letter. Reading the letter, he learns she is leaving for a far-off place and cannot say where. She wants to escape her father and does not want Qin to suffer, meaning they have to part ways. Yet she refuses to just run away and abandon the one she loves. She promises to return once she is strong enough to stand up to her father. It turns out she made her move last night. He is told to wait for her. Qin is totally speechless. Later, he crosses back into the post-apocalyptic world, arriving at the hideout to announce his return. He looks terrible, totally depressed and drained. Yunlin asks why he is so miserable, while Ruyo wonders if he failed to gather supplies. But Qin actually brought enough food to last them for months. Pay attention here, our guy is about to drop a total bombshell. He is leaving. Ruyo is confused, asking if he wants gold. But he says his heart is broken and gold is useless now. The girls are absolutely shocked. Yanlin figures out that Qin must have a girlfriend, which Ruyo never expected. But Qin sadly admits they had not even started dating before she disappeared. He wonders why she did not even say goodbye and disconnected her phone. He has no clue where to look. As Qin turns to walk away, Ruo quickly stops him. She asks if it is just a breakup, telling him to find someone else. He says she does not get it, he is totally broken and has no energy for anyone else. She grabs his arm, pulling him close. Qin freezes in panic. Ruyo teases that if he brings her delicious food, she might reward him. Qin gets totally distracted, making her realize he does not seem so low on energy after all. Suddenly, she shoves him away, saying the teasing is over, and she has given him enough attention. Qin slumps back down, complaining that a simple tease is not going to cheer him up. Yanlin chimes in, offering her own comfort. Qin accepts, but demands a real hug. While Ruyo happily munches on some bread, her sister gives Qin a warm, comforting hug. She complains, but Qin begs for just 30 seconds. Ruyo finds the whole scene hilarious. Meanwhile, far away, a soldier asks Captain Lai if thawing Yi to extract dark energy is truly worth the extreme risk. If he wakes, the fallout will be catastrophic. But Lai explains their base was only feared because of Yi's might. Now that he is gone, base G04 could fall at any second. They cannot wait. Lai orders them to bring Ho Jan Mai immediately. The soldier obeys and leaves. Approaching the frozen block, Lai wonders what drove the powerful Yi, completely insane. Yet, this madness happened at the perfect moment. For ages, Yi refused to expand their borders, even though his godlike power could have easily crushed and dominated all the surrounding lands. His weakness brought him down, so now Lai wants that strength for himself to rule the distant lands. Back at the hideout, Yungling grumbles about Qin, when a beep suddenly echoes from her bag. Let us pause here, you and I can see the danger. Qin digs out the ringing walkie-talkie from Fang Wu. Ruyo yells not to answer, warning it could expose their entire hidden base. Qin promises to leave before transmitting, using his insane speed to dash out. He swiftly crosses the ruined city, scaling right to the top of a high building. Powering up the device, Qin asks if it is Fang Wu, apologizing for the radio silence. Fang Wu brushes it off, saying they have no time, he needs help, promising him massive reward. They are in deep trouble and desperately need Qin's unique skills. A massive zombie horde took their supply batch, trapping survivors inside. Qin must move fast to save them. Getting to coordinates, the boy figures out his heading. At the target site, vicious zombies claw at the barricades, while the terrified survivors huddle on the floor in absolute despair. Completely out of ammo, they watch the monsters break through. One man reassures the group that help is on the way, just as Qin finally arrives at the scene. Scanning the area, Qin is suddenly struck down. A woman calls Fang Wu, laughing at how careless the kid is. Fang Wu tells her to play nice since the boy is highly useful. Dismissing it, she tells Qin to follow. Elsewhere, several trucks speed down a road as a driver tells Chief Fu they got incredibly lucky on this run. He never expected to score so many meds after Kichi's death left the Chief of Justice seat open. He asks if Fu will take the job, but Fu simply replies he is just doing his duty. Suddenly, the trucks crash. Alarms blare as someone screams about red zombies. Men leap out, firing wildly, but their bullets fail to bring the swift monsters down. The driver jumps out, stretching his elastic arms to bind the zombies. This lets the others fire without the monsters dodging, but a stray bullet accidentally ruptures one of their fuel tanks. Fu says they can just transfer the cargo to another truck. But from atop a vehicle, a lookout spots a massive zombie horde just 800 meters away, closing in fast. Fu screams to secure the medical supplies and get in. When a soldier warns that the fuel tanks are left behind, Fu barks that they have no time to stay, and they die. Forget the fuel, they must move. They pile in, but as time passes, the gas gauge drops to empty. The driver alerts Captain Fu, who orders everyone to halt and dismount. Fu asks for their remaining range. One says 10 kilometers, another guesses 15, but they are still 30 kilometers away from the safety of the Earth Alliance. Fu knows they are exhausted, but they cannot rest until they find fuel. A soldier notes a potential gas source 5 kilometers away, suggesting they split up and send the vice captain to fetch it. The vice captain agrees. Sometime later, his squad scavenges through abandoned cars, with one soldier muttering that they must have gathered enough fuel by now. The vice captain orders a regroup, but several men are suddenly snatched by zombies. Gunfire erupts as a soldier screams to run, and the vice captain barks that it is too late for the bitten. He warns them to stop shooting to avoid attracting more monsters. But there are simply too many. Now, completely dry on ammo, they are trapped inside an abandoned truck. The vice captain tells his panicked crew to breathe slowly as the monsters begin violently pounding on the metal. He desperately assures them that the base will send rescue. Fang Wu assigns 2 men to lure the horde south, while Fang Wen diverts a small group west. Qin asks his role, and the leader says they will rescue the survivors together. We are in for a wild ride, watch as they move out, using a loud sound car to draw the massive horde. All right, you and I are diving right into the madness. They blast music from the car to lure the horde away. But as Fang Wu orders everyone forward, Qin notices a major problem. Why are there still so many monsters left? Fang Wu explains some are just too decomposed to hear. While his ally holds off the incoming swarm, Qin rushes to the rescue door only to find it tightly locked, screaming for the people inside to open up. The door finally opens, but Qin freezes in shock. Weren't there supposed to be a dozen survivors? He demands answers from Fu, the sole survivor. When the group regroups, Fang Wen is equally stunned to see just one single person rescued. A devastated Fu explains that his entire squad was brutally ambushed by Base G04 the previous night, leaving him as the only survivor. Fang Wen loses his temper, snapping that they never would have deployed so many fighters just to save one supplyless guy. But Fu reveals there is more. Another group went to grab gasoline from a trap. Fang Wen reminds him their lord only paid for a single rescue, meaning any extra work costs more. Desperate, Fu begs for help, promising to personally pay whatever it takes to save his dying men. Qin volunteers for the mission, but Fang Wen immediately objects. The young hero counters, demanding this rescue as his promised reward from Fang Wu. Dumbfounded, Fang Wen wonders if this kid is a complete genius or just plain stupid. Surprisingly, Fang Wu walks off and gives Qin the green light. His younger brother is absolutely furious, warning him about the sheer danger of this choice. Just then, a zombie emerges on a nearby rooftop. Fang Wen panics as several more red zombies suddenly appear, catching everyone off guard. Why are there so many of these mutated beasts? One lunges straight at them, but the female fighter instantly grabs and obliterates it. With more monsters closing in, Fang Wen warns that this massive gathering is highly unusual. His brother shouts at the team to stop wasting precious energy and sprint back to the vehicle. Fu and the others fight back furiously, but Qin screams a terrifying warning they can't reach the car because a massive horde has completely surrounded it. Now, watch closely because here is where everything spirals out of control. The horde they lured away has returned in even greater, overwhelming numbers, but Fang Wu calmly tells them to stay focused, since low-level ghouls can't climb. They need to wipe out the red zombies first. Instantly, the squad coordinates, systematically slaying every single creature lurking across the rooftop until the area is temporarily cleared. Fang Wu notes they just need a solid escape route through this undead ocean. But suddenly, a zombie digs its claws right into the concrete wall and begins scaling the building, prompting Qin to shout in horror. These ghouls look exactly like the giant monsters Qin faced when he first arrived in this post-apocalyptic world. Fang Wu curses, unable to believe they are now spawning in packs. Panic sets in as they realize 6 massive titans are heading their way. The female fighter notes how bizarre this is. First, a level 3 red zombie ambush, now multiple level 3 giants. Fu points out that the monsters are acting incredibly strange, almost as if an intelligent coordinator is directing them like a tactical army. One of the men sighs, realizing they only have one play left. Looking thoroughly confused, Qin points toward a nearby skyscraper. An enormous, shadowy smoke creature with countless writhing legs is wrapped tightly around the entire structure. Lowering his glasses, a fighter mutters in dread that it's a zombie king. While some humans can resist the infection with raw willpower, those who fail can mutate into these terrifying, supreme rulers. This monster can control the entire undead army. They are told to run immediately, since the level 3 zombie king is still far enough to escape. Meanwhile, Fang Wen barely dodges a titan's heavy strike. He screams that the monsters are scaling the walls at insane speeds. The female fighter urges him to flee while she holds the line, but they are fully surrounded and refuse to abandon any teammate. Fang Wen asks if Qin can leap to the neighboring rooftop. The boy nods, but warns he can only carry one person per jump. Captain Fu places a hand on his shoulder, placing all his hope on him. Telling him to hold tight, Qin prepares to launch. Suddenly, the approaching zombie king unleashes a devastating sonic screech that echoes through the area, causing Fu to clutch his head in absolute agony. Qin realizes his special abilities are completely blocked. Nearby, a giant zombie slams into the female fighter, leaving her badly injured. The sonic scream has neutralized everyone's power. He remembers his ultimate weapon, the bullet of perdition, but the system warns the target is out of range. Trying to shield the fallen woman, Fang Wu gets brutally bitten by a giant. You and I both know Qin has to make a desperate move here. He orders the system to consume all his crystals and cores to force an evolution, despite the high risk of failure. Confirming the command, Qin begins his forced evolution while his allies desperately defend him. Waves of failures pop up, yet they keep fighting as the massive zombie king slowly draws closer. Qin grows anxious as the system repeatedly fails and lags. Finally, the process completes, ascending him to a level 4 evolutionist with an insane skill, super focus, and a completely clear mind. With this buff active, the zombie king's sonic screech no longer hinders him. His mind feels incredibly sharp, unlocking a perfect understanding of his dormant powers. Suddenly, Fang Wen screams out for rescue. A giant zombie raises its fist to crush him. Accepting his death, Fang Wen prays he never reincarnates into this hellish world again. Nearby, Fang Wu shields the girl, taking multiple heavy blows. Suddenly, Qin strikes, ripping the head right off a massive zombie. The beast holding Fang Wen drops dead instantly, leaving the man in awe as he realizes Qin just saved his life. As the zombie king roars, it suddenly raises a single finger. The horde below turns absolutely feral, sprouting grotesque wings and launching themselves up toward the rooftop at terrifying speeds. Qin realizes they are moving far faster and jumping higher. The Zombie King's terrifying ability lets it force immediate mutations on regular ghouls, granting them crazy power before they inevitably self-destruct. The winged mutants swarm the roof. The female fighter tells everyone to assume defensive positions, but the monsters completely ignore them. Fang Wen panics, realizing they aren't even targeting the main group. Instead, they are rushing straight for Qin with single-minded focus. The squad tries to rush back to shield him, but before they can reach him, a massive explosion erupts, sending the mutants flying. Qin catches his breath, admitting that was way too close. Stunned by the blast, Fang Wen asks how on earth he managed to wipe out an entire horde with a single move. He asks if Qin's power was just speed. But the observant Fang Wu senses the massive shift in his aura, asking if he has officially reached level 4. Qin nods, explaining his real talent is energy accumulation, not speed. A flabbergasted Fang Wen screams, wondering how he leveled up so fast, but Qin cuts him off, telling them to run while they have a chance. He promises to hold off the monstrous king alone. Though the squad offers to stay behind and support him, Qin insists that having them around will only distract him from the fight. Qin bends down to harvest the fresh zombie cores, reassuring them he has a secret escape plan. If things go completely south, he can always rely on his emergency dimensional jump to get away safely. If they stay, they will only get in his way. After they retreat, violent explosions continue to rock the rooftop as Qin fights on alone. Even after 2 brutal hours, his newly evolved level 4 stamina keeps him going. By now, the others must have safely escaped. He spent most of his energy clearing the small fry to secure their path. Now it's time for the real boss. Qin points directly at the Zombie King, mocking its power. He taunts the creature for hiding behind weak lackeys, challenging it to fight him face to face. Infuriated, the Zombie King charges forward, proving to Qin that the monster can indeed understand human speech. A single strike shatters the entire building. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how Qin handles this level 3 powerhouse next. You and I are jumping right into a high-stakes clash where he has to cut off the source immediately. Last time, the crazed leader simulated a deadly water blade that sliced Fang Wu. He might do it again. He pushes his concentration past the limit. Qin unleashes every drop of his power, striking the Zombie King directly. The beast screams in agony. It actually worked. Meanwhile, far away, the mad leader collapses. Trapped in a tank managed by Hojami, the vessel fills with extraction fluid. In 3 days, he will have his dark energy completely drained. Lee asks if it is that simple. Hojami admits he has done this often, but never on a high-tier evolutionist. But Lee must stay patient. In 3 days, all of Yi's power will be theirs. Meanwhile, Fang Wu's group speeds away in their cars. Suddenly, the walkie-talkie buzzes. It is Qin, checking in on them. Fang Wu confirms they rescued everyone successfully. Because the Zombie King pulled his horde to attack Qin, the rescue was a breeze. Qin sighs in relief. He was terrified. His friends had been hurt. He never expected such a fast rescue. Fang Wu tells him not to stress about their injuries. The survivors brought plenty of medicine, and the toxic poison is already being neutralized. Then Fang Wu asks how Qin is holding up. Fang Wang cuts in, telling his brother that if Qin has the energy to call, he must be totally fine. Qin chuckles, confirming he is good, and suggests a meeting spot. The reward is massive. The Zombie King's core yields 10,000 skill points. Qin thought he was broke after burning through his reserves, but this 10,000-point jackpot changes everything. Suddenly, Qin collapses. Completely drained of energy, he falls into a deep coma. Meanwhile, a lone car speeds down a deserted road. Inside, a girl asks Fu where they are going, since the Earth Alliance is the opposite way. Fu explains this path is safer for supplies and has fewer zombies. But as they draw close, an enemy aims a rocket launcher right at them, muttering that their targets have finally arrived. Boom! The rocket hits, detonating the vehicles in a massive blast. Fu stumbles out coughing, grumbling that while fire cannot touch him, explosions definitely hurt. That was a close call. The attacker approaches with his squad and offers a fake apology. He claims taking down those 4 targets is normally impossible, so when a chance to wipe them out together appeared, they had to take it. But they only captured them because of a trick. Now they are heading to Camp 17. Meanwhile, Qin is still passed out on the dirt. 2 scavengers approach, wondering if this sleeping kid was really the beast who destroyed a level 3 Zombie King. The other says it is too dangerous here, suggesting they carry him away. Now watch closely, because after some time passes, a random stranger starts aggressively pulling on Qin's cheek. He snaps awake, shouting in anger, which sends 2 little girls running. Confused, Qin looks around this unfamiliar room. When told the truth, he gasps, asking if he seriously slept for 10 whole days. He immediately asks about Fang Wu and his team, needing to reach them. But a woman explains they confiscated his radio. No communication devices are allowed inside this high-security base. Kin demands his device back, promising to make his call the moment he steps outside. The woman scoffs, asking if he is really going to walk out like that, questioning if this is how he treats the people who saved his life. The boy quickly apologizes, offering to repay their kindness with supplies. She smiles, saying she appreciates the offer, but food is not what they lack. What this base desperately needs right now are powerful warriors like him. The local association has a favor to ask. Kin agrees to help with anything, but insists he must check in with his friends first. Excited, she assigns an escort to take him outside so he can use his radio. Once outside, Kin transmits but receives only static. His guide suggests his friends might have lost their receiver, urging him to head back inside. Their leader is waiting. Kin sighs, realizing he will not be leaving this place anytime soon. Standing before a massive building, he asks where they are going, since he was supposed to meet the boss. The guide laughs, admitting she forgot to mention one detail. Before seeing the chief, he needs a bath. Since he has been out cold for days, his body odor is absolutely lethal. Handing him a bath kit, she leads him to the bathhouse and waits outside. Kin walks in, sniffing himself, wondering if he really smells that bad. He smells nothing, but as he enters, he spots a woman already inside. Kin panics, apologizing for walking into the wrong section. But after finding the right spot, he sinks into the hot water. Trust me, we all know he desperately needed this relaxing break. Between all the chaos, he has not had a single second to dwell on his broken heart. Keeping busy is key. Right now, he needs to focus on grinding cash and landing another lucrative business partnership. Suddenly, a crowd of noisy people enters. A group of excited girls is ready for bath time, catching Kin completely off guard. Terrified and confused by the female invasion, he quickly wraps a towel over his head. Thankfully, no one notices him. Kin desperately searches for an escape route. Suddenly, a girl sits right next to him, complaining about the heat, before her playful friend shoves her straight into the water. This is his golden opportunity to slip away, but a commanding woman blocks the exit and gathers everyone. She praises their intense training for the mission's success, shouting that their courage made them invincible. Then, the leader announces a sudden towel battle to test how they handle a fight without any preparation. Two girls try to slip out, but she warns them the door is already locked tight. If they want to escape, they must steal the key hanging around her neck. Only the last one standing wins. They have 3 minutes to partner up, and the girls immediately crowd the captain to team up. As the rest scramble to pair up, the leader yells that their 3 minutes are up, demanding to know if everyone has a teammate. One tearful girl whimpers that she was left out. With an odd number of members, everyone rejected her for being way too weak. The girl begs the captain to let her participate, and the leader points straight at Kin, who is currently shivering in a dark corner. The boy is completely speechless. Trying to make his voice sound feminine, he squeaks out a question, asking if she means him. The other girls whisper, wondering who this weird stranger even is. The captain orders him to step forward and team up. He reluctantly agrees. She bans the use of special abilities during the brawl, declaring the battle officially started. Instantly, the girls launch into a chaotic free-for-all. Rivals who held grudges seize this perfect opportunity to settle old scores. Kin's partner looks around, wondering why absolutely nobody is coming to challenge them. The boy mutters that he has no clue. Meanwhile, the captain easily overpowers opponent after opponent. Her partner is thrilled to have chosen the winning side. Soon, most are knocked out, leaving only 3 teams. She asks her deputy who is next. The vice captain smirks, asking if that was even a real question. She challenges the leader directly. Both square up, and an epic duel ignites as they exchange rapid strikes from every angle. The captain sweeps in for a takedown, but her deputy recovers with insane reflexes. Kin watches the blinding speed of their exchange, thoroughly impressed by their high-level combat prowess. The crowd gasps when the captain takes a sharp strike to her neck. The leader chuckles, admitting defeat, and praises her opponent's massive growth. But she reminds them one last duo remains to decide the true victor. Kin's partner nudges him to take the lead. Hyped up, Kin claims he is ready to rumble. But when she asks about his past experience, Kin panics, realizing that if he fights, his identity will be exposed. The girl sighs and charges in solo, boasting about the new moves she learned, but she is instantly taken down. The vice captain snatches the key, laughing that Kin's partner needs way more practice. With the door finally unlocked, the exhausted girls happily head out, eager to grab a massive meal. The deputy asks her leader if she threw the match, but she denies it, noting her opponent has grown strong but remains insecure. Watching them depart, Kin prepares to escape, but his partner notices a loose thread on his towel. She gives it a playful yank, unraveling his makeshift disguise completely. Kin freezes in utter terror. After a moment of stunned silence, she begins screaming for her captain, but Kin desperately drags her away. Kin swears he did not sneak in on purpose, but her shivering forces him to use a desperate threat. As she finally quiets down, you and I can only hope this guy somehow clears his name. All right, you and I are about to dive into a crazy rescue mission. 1 week ago, Rubio asks her sister where she's heading. Yan admits she's tracking Kin since he's been missing for 3 days and worried, Rubio tags along. They head straight to base G04, hoping to find Fang Wu's contact details even without knowing where Kin is. The local captain, Lai, claims he has no clue about Kin's whereabouts either. However, if anything bad happens to Kin, it spells trouble for everyone. Lai promises to send his own men to track him down and secure Fang Wu's contact. Yan offers her thanks, but Ruyo remains dead silent. As they leave, Yumlin notices her sister's frustration and asks what's wrong. Ruyo admits she has a bad feeling. Something about the captain feels completely off compared to before. His magnetic shield was wildly unstable and floating out of control. They need that contact info fast. Meanwhile, far away, Fang Wu's squad has fallen right into a deadly ambush and is completely trapped. One of them complains that they've been locked up for a whole week with food but zero news. Suddenly, approaching footsteps quiet her down. A man enters, mocking her fierce temper and reminding her that he warned her to stay calm. The captives gasp in disbelief, recognizing the man before them. It's their own leader. What is he doing there? Later that night, Yumlin and Ruyo make their escape, scaling the base's perimeter walls. Hamjami wonders if they should just let the sisters walk. The captain explains that detaining them would only spark suspicion, and he needs Kin safe. With their combined resources, their future prosperity is practically guaranteed. He secretly orders his subordinates to shadow them and report their every move. Meanwhile, the girls speed away in a car, with Ruyo telling Yunlan to get some sleep after driving through the entire night. Stopping to eat some instant ramen, Ruyo praises the taste, and Yunlin agrees, admitting she'd never have tried it without Kin. Suddenly, Ruyo asks her sister how she really feels about Kin. Does she actually like him? She honestly doesn't know. Her entire life revolved around protecting Ruyo, but around Kin, she can finally let her guard down. His long silence makes her fear he's in danger, or maybe he simply grew tired of them and moved on. Yan doesn't care about that. She just wants to see him again. Curiosity gets the better of her, and she asks Ruyo what changed, since she originally wanted to kill Kin. Ruyo admits he's not a bad guy, prompting Yumlin to tease her about treating him nicely next time. Smiling, she mentions that Kin actually told her he finds Ruyo adorable, and honestly, she agrees. Now pay attention, because right in the middle of nowhere, their car breaks down. Yumlin asks if it's fixable, but Ruyo shakes her head. They'll have to scavenge parts from other matching models on the road. Ruyo vents that this junk car always fails them, especially with Fang Wu's base only 10 kilometers away. Yan suggests stealing a different ride, but her sister refuses, so they head to a nearby parking lot. The sisters search for the specific replacement parts, and Ruyo finally spots one. But just then, a strange, tricycle-like vehicle rumbles toward them. Yumlin screams a warning that someone is coming. The vehicle halts, revealing Fang Wu's quirky driver, who jokingly reassures them he's not a kidnapper. He is shocked to hear they are looking for Fang Wu and insists they hop in right away so they can all travel together. As they climb into the back, Ruyo warns her sister that trusting strangers is a terrible idea. Yunlin points out his photo with Fang Wu, but Ruyo counters that a photo proves absolutely nothing about his character. Yunlin jokes that if he is a liar, they will just kill him. Inside the front seat, the driver hears every single threat. Over at Faction 17, the impatient leader demands to know when their contact will show up. His subordinate nervously responds it might be late afternoon, or maybe never. Enraged by the vague answer, the leader threatens him. Reaching a busy market, the driver pulls over. He tells the girls they are near Faction 17, and they should wait right here. He promises to retrieve Fang Wu and the crew, advising them to flee if he isn't back by tomorrow. Inside, a guard announces the arrival of Xiao, who enters the room and apologizes for his tardiness. The Faction 17 rep brushes off the delay, genuinely pleased to see Shikao. He invites him to sit and enjoy some food he prepared, but Xiao coldly refuses the offer. Xiao aggressively points out they kidnapped his men to force this meeting, so he has no interest in dining. He demands they spit out what they want, having zero patience for their petty games. The host counters, knowing Shikao's group operates strictly for cash. He wants them to reject helping base J04, clearing the way for an invasion. Outside, Yumlin spies on them, nervously asking Ruyo if they should just head back. I know what you're thinking, but Ruyo is being smart. She points out staying in the car is too dangerous, and hiding nearby lets them watch the driver's exit. From the shadows, a sniper targets the running sisters. But right before he fires, one of Lee's elite guards takes him out with a headshot. He warns the girls to stop, explaining that past this point lies Faction 17 territory. Ruyo is furious that Lee's spy has been tracking them. Meanwhile, deep underground, Fang Wu's imprisoned allies question why Xiao is here and what Faction 17 really wants. Xiao urges them to escape first, telling them two girls are waiting. Crouching in the bushes, Yumlin and Ruyo watch closely as they finally make it back to the vehicle. They pile into the back, and Fang Wu lightheartedly asks Xiao when he'll finally scrap this ancient electric ride. Xiao reveals it's his late wife's keepsake. The sisters then step out. Later on, Fang Wu repeatedly tries to reach Qin on the walkie-talkie but gets nothing but static. Yumlin anxiously asks if something bad happened to Qin, but Fang Wu doubts it. With Qin's monstrous power, he's more than capable of protecting himself and is likely searching for them instead. Fang Wu promises they'll help search, starting by mapping the local zombie king's territory for any clues. After a grueling 3-day journey, they arrive to find the legendary zombie king lying dead, seemingly slain by Qin 10 days ago. Even looking at the corpse, it is hard to believe he did this alone. Ruyo is utterly stunned that a mere teenager had the raw power to solo a level 3 monster. Fang Wu notes that Qin is leagues above his past self, evolving at an absolutely terrifying speed. As the hidden soldier watches, Fang Wu points out there are no direct traces of Qin here, meaning they must search elsewhere. Ruyo asks them to hold on while she activates her super information processing skill. She identifies Qin's handprint embedded in the soil, alongside the tracks of two distinct individuals. Heavy drag marks on the ground suggest he was physically hauled away from this very spot. Suddenly, everything that occurred 10 days ago becomes clear to Ruyo. Qin was captured by the climbers. If so, he is likely safe, given their strict reputation for never killing innocent people. Fang Wu jokes that since Qin is ignoring his radio and the climbers' squad is full of beautiful girls, the kid probably just decided to settle down. Exhausted, the soldier requests they take a quick meal break. With everyone agreeing, the sisters start cooking ramen. Fang Wu steps away and heads into a nearby building, where Li's hidden soldier silently shadows his movements. Fang Wu casually asks if the guy also came inside to take a leak. He chuckles that Captain Li really knows how to treat his business partners, promising them a nice discount on their next mercenary job. But the assassin completely blindsides him. This dangerous soldier possesses a specialized domain ability that strips any same-level evolutionary being of their powers, rendering them entirely helpless. Captain Li had ordered Wu Yang to guard those girls and guide them safely to their destination. He realized Fang Wu easily neutralized their target previously, making this powerful young man a major threat to his plans. Therefore, Wu Yang's real mission is to capture Fang Wu. The boy's unique power has massive potential and would serve their faction well, as he vividly recalls his commander's sinister laughter. He violently restrains Fang Wu to drag him away, knocking the radio from his pocket onto the floor. It suddenly crackles to life. On the other end, Qin is actually attempting to reach them. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. A girl confirms she caught Qin in the women's restroom, even refusing to be bought off by his bribe of a lollipop. Alright, you and I are diving straight into some serious drama, because the vice captain is absolutely furious and demands our main character gets kicked out immediately. But Chuenzi wants to beat him up first. Qin panics, yelling that it was just a massive misunderstanding. He swears he only walked into the wrong restroom because he spotted a girl coming out of there first. He points directly at the person from the bathroom, shouting that she is the culprit. He claims that if this pretty girl had not been hanging around the men's room, he would never have made such a stupid mistake. But the person coldly tells him to shut up and proves he is actually a guy. Qin is totally stunned, while another girl steps in to explain it was all just an honest mistake. She orders Huanzi to untie Qin. Later, Qin knocks on a door, and Owen warmly welcomes him in. Apologizing for the chaos before handing over the zombie king core he harvested, Qin is shocked he forgot to secure such a precious item. She reminds him that a high-tier core is incredibly valuable in this post-apocalyptic world, and he needs to guard it. Qin is deeply touched. Not only did she save his life, but she also returned a priceless treasure. In this ruthless world, finding kind people is rare. She gestures for him to sit down for a chat. Qin offers to help them with anything to repay the debt, but she warns him that her upcoming request is extremely dangerous and requires a detailed explanation first. They built their base around a crucial hydroelectric plant, which was vital for survival. However, they soon discovered that the main underwater entrance to the station was blocked by a mysterious obstacle. They sent a scout to investigate the depths, where she uncovered a horrifying sight. A massive horde of giant, bloated water zombies was nesting there, forcing her to flee in absolute terror. Every attempt to clear them failed, costing over 10 lives already. Kin listens grimly, noting he has encountered these types of monsters before and asks about their power level. She reveals they are level 4 threats that move incredibly fast underwater. Kin admits he has never fought them in their element, so he needs to inspect the area first. Now, pay attention here because this is where the real danger begins. The team takes Kin to the plant, and when he suggests diving in alone, they think he has lost his mind since they always hunt in teams. Kin reassures them he can easily escape if things go south, then dives straight into the cold reservoir, swimming deep into the darkness. Down in the depths, he spots several massive monsters. It is a tense situation, so he swims closer to scan their details, confirming they are level 4 aquatic zombies. They are extremely fast in water and spit high-pressure jets to crush humans. Kin thinks he could take on a couple, but there are hundreds down here. Suddenly, one sneaks up behind him. Our hero reacts just in time, grabbing the beast by its jaws, but its biting force is insane. Despite its massive size, the monster moves in total silence without making a single ripple. Kin calls the beast a bloated radish and refuses to become its dinner. Channeling energy into his legs, he launches a powerful kick right off its jaw, boosting himself upward to look down on the pack. Realizing there are just too many of them, he decides to make a run for it. Up above, the girls worry about his delay until Kin suddenly breaches the surface, grabbing a ladder they throw down. Kin gasps that they are lucky the monsters cannot swim and can only crawl on the bottom. But as he strips off his tight diving suit, he accidentally pulls his underwear down along with it. The embarrassed girl furiously chases him, while Kin desperately blames the tight suit. After the chaos settles, Kin meets with the leader, who eagerly asks if he made it to the very bottom. Kin confirms he did and claims he has a solid plan to wipe them out. He just needs a proper underwater weapon, leaving the leader wondering if he is actually serious. You and I both know Kin loves to show off, so when the vice captain doubts his plan, he just smiles and tells her she is completely underestimating his skills. He boasts about using only 8 special bullets to take out hundreds of monsters in the past, so 20 shots should easily clear this horde. Unfortunately, the captain reveals they have no underwater rifles, and depth charges did absolutely nothing. Kin is disappointed and asks if that is truly their only water-based weapon. Kin asks his system if those special bullets can work with standard explosives, but the system flatly refuses, saying they only work with fast projectiles. Kin is completely shocked, frantically trying to figure out a plan. Suddenly, Kin gets a brilliant idea. He asks the captain for assistance, and she warmly tells him to just call her Yulu. He asks her to help build a custom weapon and starts sketching the design on paper. Yulu looks at the simple mechanism and promises to build it within the day. Soon, they return to the water, where Kin equips his brand new crossbow and tells everyone to wait for his return. This improvised weapon fires high-speed bolts, fully satisfying the system requirements. Kin dives deep down to the bottom and commands the system to load 20 rounds of his special ammunition. Spending 1,000 ability points, he targets the giant zombies and fires 20 consecutive shots into the horde. The job is done, but the bullets take 20 hours to trigger, and the monsters have spotted him. As the girls anxiously wait on the surface, a massive blast suddenly erupts, launching Kin right out of the water. He is coughing, wondering why the delayed bullets exploded instantly. The system casually reports that the fuse timing is highly unstable. Kin is furious, swearing he will never buy those cheap bullets again, while the vice captain mocks his failure. Meanwhile, far away, Ruyo finishes her lunch. Yunlin complains about Fang Wen's disappearance, but she notes he is the one who took forever in the bathroom. Fang Wu stands up to go search for his brother. Searching the dark corridors, he finds a discarded walkie-talkie lying on the cold floor. Panic setting in, Fang Wu runs back to report that his brother has completely vanished without a trace. Ruyo mentions hearing absolutely nothing suspicious recently. Fang Wu realizes his brother must have been ambushed when his guard was down, but it makes no sense since the entrance was completely guarded. He kept a close watch, making him wonder if their own boss or some other faction pulled this off. Fang Wen would never leave willingly, meaning he is likely in grave danger. They need to warn the others. Although Fang Wu promised to help locate Kin, the girl assures him that if Kin is with the climbers, he is probably in safe hands. Another ally explains he was sent specifically to watch over them, so there is no need to worry. Later that night, Wu spots a suspicious figure lurking near the trees. It is a man who looks exactly like him, whispering questions about how much their captain has changed lately, pointing out that the leader is acting incredibly strange too. Wu dismisses this as pure gossip, reminding him of their leader's ultimate dream to unite humanity, but the mysterious double promises to find solid proof, swearing he won't let anyone ruin their childhood home. Suddenly, a girl approaches and asks who he is talking to. Wu lies, claiming he was just sending a report about tomorrow's travel plans, before asking her why she is still awake. She replies she cannot sleep when others are still active. Meanwhile, back at the base, Qin receives treatment for the injuries he sustained from that chaotic explosion. Yulu gently bandaging his wounds, warning it might sting, while another member praises his bravery, telling him that even though the plan failed, they are still incredibly grateful. But Qin refuses to back down, swearing he will conquer those bloated monsters. When the vice captain snarkily asks if he plans to blow himself up again, Qin vows to solve their crisis. And trust me, you and I are going to see some serious fireworks next time, because his pride is on the line and those aquatic monsters are about to face his absolute wrath. Alright, you and I are back with our main character asking the system if the Zombie King's core has any other uses. With a solid no, he absorbs it, racking up 10,500 ability points. With 10,000 points, he could easily reach level 7. Wanting to skip the grind, Qin orders the system to trigger 10 upgrades back to back. But wait, every single evolution fails. Desperate, Qin spams another 30 attempts, but gets nothing but failure. He pushes for 50 more, holding his breath, but the system still rejects him. Furious and broke, he's asked if he wants to keep rolling. Qin hesitates, knowing he is down to his last points and one more failure will ruin him completely. Meanwhile, out on the base walls, a guard alerts the leader that 3 mysterious strangers are looking for Qin. The boss gives the green light, and the heavy gates swing open. Welcoming them inside, she mentions hearing they are friends of Qin and asks which faction they belong to. Yumlin explains they are just solo freelancers. Ruyo, highly anxious, demands to speak with Qin immediately about a matter of life and death. Now pay attention here, because the boss allows them inside, ordering Tuanzi to guide the sisters. But Ruyo is already complaining, convinced that Qin has completely forgotten about them. She openly questions why they are even chasing someone so unreliable, but as Tuanzi points them to a private room, declaring Qin is right inside, Yumlin hesitates at the door, unable to bring herself to enter. Ruyo nudges her to open it, but Yumlin turns away, suggesting they should just leave now that they know he is safe. But before they can walk, the door suddenly swings open. It's Qin, and his eyes widen. Shocked, he asks how she tracked him down and if she is eating well, admitting he thought he was hearing things. Ruyo immediately snaps, asking if he has any clue what they survived just to find him. Yumlin shushes her sister, while Qin stands there totally confused. Smiling gently, she says none of it matters as long as he is okay. But once updated, Qin immediately asks who took Fang Wen. Yumlin admits she is unsure if Fang Wu went after him. Guilt washes over Qin, realizing they risked their lives just to track him down. He regrets not reaching out to them much sooner. Qin decides to explain the situation to the leaders, letting them know the water station repairs must wait while he helps locate Fang Wen. As they ride out, Yumlin admits she is shocked the base leader let him go so easily. Trapped and tied up inside a moving car, Fang Wen manages to press a hidden button on his wrist. Instantly, miles away, Fang Wu's receiver begins to beep frantically. You and I both know how smart this guy is. That's an emergency tracker embedded right under his skin. The signal confirms he is being held deep inside the J-04 military base. Back at the base, a scout reports that the prisoner has arrived. Pleased with the news, Commander Lee orders Hojami to be brought in, though the soldier notices his leader is looking quite sick. Ever since he absorbed the stolen power, his condition has been falling apart. Lee brushes it off, claiming it is just temporary rejection and that a simple suppressant will stabilize his body soon. The soldier nervously warns that the doctor cannot be trusted, as he has no reason to help them for free. Lee snaps, commanding him to shut his mouth immediately. He softens, acknowledging the worry, but insists they must focus on the ultimate goal, building an unbreakable sanctuary. A place where humanity can evolve without living in constant fear of the undead. This is their dream, but with mankind scattered and divided, Lee believes power must be seized by force. Only by taking absolute control of all factions can humanity finally unite and grow strong. Only then can an impenetrable fortress be built. Nearby, Wu Yang notes that since the girls are safe, his mission is over, while Qin thanks him for keeping Yunlin protected all this time. Wu Yang nods, explaining he only stayed outside the base because of his rocky history with their leaders. Mission accomplished, he bids them farewell. Impressed by his loyalty, Qin promises that their next trade deal will include 10 tons of free rice. Pulling out his radio, he contacts Fang Wu to let him know they are safe and sound. Relieved, Fang Wu asks Qin if he is alone, requesting a private word. Qin nods and steps away from the girls. That is when Fang Wu drops the bomb his brother has been captured by the J-04 squad. Qin asks if he is absolutely sure, and after a heavy nod, asks for his current location. Fang Wu reveals he is watching the J-04 base, ready to launch a rescue raid once backup arrives. Qin urges him not to do anything reckless, warning that the base's defenses are brutal, but Fang Wu is terrified that delaying even a second longer will cost his brother his life. Qin understands, but reasons that if they wanted him dead, they would have killed him already. He asks for 20 hours, aiming for a pre-dawn raid when their defenses are weakest. With Qin sneaking inside first to secure internal support, Fang Wu reluctantly agrees to wait. Soon, they are driving towards the base, where Qin tells the guard he wants to thank the commander in person. Deep inside the base, Captain Lee is hit by a violent coughing fit, spitting strange purple fluid onto his handkerchief. He demands to know why this medicine is not stopping the symptoms, feeling a chaotic storm of energy inside. Hojimi calmly tells him to relax, insisting healing takes time. He hands Lee a fresh glowing vial, calling it a stronger serum to help his body adapt. Lee gulps it down instantly, and Hojimi watches closely, asking how he feels. Thrilled, Lee exclaims that the medicine works incredibly fast, feeling his wild energy immediately calm down. Hojimi smirks, instructing him to drink this dose whenever his powers spiral out of control. Once alone, Hojimi brings up a screen, hoping his success will earn him a massive reward from his master. He dials a secret frequency, and the terrifying Witch Queen answers the call. She demands an update on the progress. He eagerly reports that unless an error occurs, they are on track to finally build the ultimate biological weapon. Impressed, she promises him a grand reward. Simping hard, he asks if he can get a sweet embrace from her when he succeeds. She lets out a cold laugh and agrees. She promises to grant his every desire, but warns that she has heard countless empty boasts before. Every other scientist ran out of time and patience, leaving her completely disappointed with their useless failures. Take Dr. John as an example. She literally drains his entire life force, sucking his energy completely dry until he collapses lifelessly onto the floor. Tossing his cold corpse aside, she smirks, noting he was at least somewhat useful. After ordering the guards to dump his body, she commands her elite assassin, Huang, to prepare to seize the final product. Meanwhile, back at the facility, Lee welcomes Qin with open arms, and Qin politely thanks him for the generous hospitality. Lee laughs it off, saying he would never want to lose his best supplier. Suddenly, Hojimi steps forward, commenting on Qin's growing power, which immediately raises our hero's suspicion. Lee explains that the doctor is just helping him with some treatment. Instantly, the pieces click in Qin's mind. Playing along, he presents several cases of fine wine, while Hojimi demands to know the secret to his power. Gathered around the banquet table, Hojimi laughs, saying the sweet wine is dangerously smooth but packs a nasty punch. He boasts that a mere 2 cups cannot faze him. Lee nods, admitting that even with his massive tolerance, 3 cups would knock him out. Qin laughs, claiming he had no idea it was so potent, and politely puts his cup down. Feigning drunkenness, he asks the sisters to assist him back to his room. Once isolated, Qin whispers the truth. Fang Wen is locked up here. With the clock ticking, they must find his cell before 3 in the morning. And that's where we leave it for now. They split up to tail their targets, and you and I will have to wait and see if this dangerous heist succeeds. All right, let's jump right into a wild escape plan scheduled for 3 a.m. While the others tail their targets, Qin stalks Hoja as the man punches access codes into a hidden wall panel. Just as Qin suspected, Havajami slips through a hidden door. Sneaking inside, Qin finds a creepy chamber bathed in eerie purple light, where Havajami is laughing while brewing strange potions. The crazed scientist mutters about running out of time, gulping down medicine to stay focused. This dark experiment cannot fail, especially now that he is so close to the second adaptation phase. Hitting stage 3 with that potion will trigger a horrific mutation, doubling his raw power. As Qin wonders who he is talking about, he spots something shocking. Yi, floating inside a massive glass tank. Is this sick facility doing human experiments? Was Fang Wen captured for this too? Suddenly, Yi's eyes snap wide open, completely startling Qin. The guy is somehow still alive. Yi mouths a desperate plea for help, but Qin hesitates. After all, this guy literally tried to kill him. Suddenly, a communicator buzzes. It is Commander Lai, screaming for more medicine as his internal energy goes completely out of control. Clutching his desk, Lai is losing control as his body begins to mutate. Watching from the shadows, Yunlin wonders what kind of nightmare she is witnessing. As Lai's back mutates into something grotesque, Yunlin doubts if he is even human anymore. Over the radio, Havajami promises he is on his way, thrilled that the commander is reaching stage 3. He leaves, giving Qin the perfect chance to search for Fang Wen. Qin searches the room, finding butchered animal parts and preserved embryos. He wonders if these are human, but they have wings, which is just impossible. Qin cracks open a heavy metal container. Inside, Fang Wen is floating in green fluid. Qin drags him out, pleading for his friend to wake up. Thankfully, he still has a pulse, so Qin prepares to escape. Passing Yi again, Qin feels a surge of anger, but realizes he cannot just leave him to rot. Pay attention to how Qin reluctantly saves him, warning the silent man to never try and kill him again. Realizing he cannot walk, Qin takes a deep breath and hoists both unconscious captives over his shoulders. He wonders how on earth he ended up carrying two naked dudes. Meanwhile, an intruder approaches the main gate. The guard asks what he is doing out so late, but is instantly silenced as the intruder slashes his throat and unlocks the gate. Standing outside is a massive strike force from Faction 17. Nearby, the woman warns Fang Wu that entering tonight is too dangerous. He agrees, saying they must wait for Qin. Suddenly, a rumbling sound echoes. Several armored vehicles belonging to Faction 17 are already rolling in. A silent sniper takes out the tower guards, while an assassin scales the wall to clear the remaining lookouts. He signals that the path is clear. With the snipers down, the invaders storm inside. A soldier approaches Wu Yang, shooting him the second he spins around. Ruia watches from the shadows as the enemy commander orders his troops to move in. Faction 17 pushes forward, knowing the captain is upstairs. Back on the ground, Wu Yang stands straight up despite taking a bullet directly to his forehead. His wound heals instantly, spitting the bullet into his hand. Ruio recognizes the insignia immediately. These attackers belong to Faction 17. Meanwhile, in the commander's quarters, Lai gulps down the medicine brought by Havajemi, confirming that the chaotic energy is finally calming down. Havajemi assures him they are on the verge of Stage 3, and ultimate victory is within reach. Secretly, the doctor is ecstatic that Lai's body is accepting the experimental drug without any rejection. Suddenly, gunfire erupts as Faction 17 tries to assassinate Lai. Automatic fire shreds the door, and the strike force breaches the room. However, their leader is shocked to see Lai standing completely unharmed. Lai asks if the intruder is Kong Wu Jiang from Faction 17. Surprised his target knows his name, Kong proudly boasts that he is not just a faction leader, but the new ruler of Base J04. In the hallways, Qin struggles to carry the two unconscious men. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the facility, and Kong Wu Jiang is sent flying through the air, crashing hard onto the concrete floor. Lai looms over his opponent, shrouded in a swirling torrent of blue water energy. Kong immediately recognizes the terrifying pressure of a level 7 evolutionist. Qin is utterly confused. Why is there a full-blown war happening when he told Fang Wu to wait? Deciding not to waste time looking for answers, he decides to exploit the chaos and head straight for the exit. Just as he is about to escape and contact Fang Wu, his path is blocked by a glowing stone staff. Havajemi confronts him, asking if Qin's sudden offer of drinks was just a cheap distraction. The doctor demands Qin drop the two test subjects, claiming they are far too valuable to lose. Qin ignores him and keeps walking, prompting an angry Havajami to ask if he is really trying to flee. He lunges forward, striking Qin's back with his staff. Let's pause for a second. That weapon is coated in zombie toxin. Qin's legs buckle from the burning poison, but he forces himself to keep running. Havajemi hurls his staff, shattering the iron gate right in front of Qin. He promises to let Qin live if he hands over the captives. Qin sighs, stating he has no desire to fight a former ally. But if the doctor forces his hand, he has no other choice. Gently setting his friends down, Qin prepares for battle. Havajemi sneers, saying he is already looking forward to dissecting Qin's corpse. Qin unleashes his energy, letting power gather in his palm. Havajami readies his toxic skills, boasting that even Fang Wu cannot survive his venom. A single drop of this poison can paralyze a giant instantly. While the doctor claims the poison will freeze his body, Qin agrees but immediately blitzes forward. Havajami strikes out, but Qin easily slips past his guard, driving a brutal punch right into his stomach. Qin resolves to end this fast. Leaving Havajami writhing on the floor, he scoops up Fang Wen and Yi once more. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the base, Lai and Kong Wu Jiang lock eyes. Kong Wu Jiang spits that Lai having Yi's fluid control power is completely impossible. He laughs hysterically as the puzzle pieces fall into place, realizing why Yi was suddenly murdered by his own allies. Lai stole his own commander's abilities. Kong mocks the level 7 warrior for foolishly trusting Lai. Angered, the mutated commander unleashes a massive, roaring torrent of water straight at him. The liquid blast rushes forward, but Kong completely vanishes, leaving Lai stunned. Reappearing right behind him, Kong presses a gun barrel against Lai's temple. mocking him before pulling the trigger repeatedly. Multiple rounds pierce Lai's skull, but they pass harmlessly through, as his head has completely liquefied. Kong instantly realizes that Lai can transform his entire physical body into pure water. Lai swings back, but Kong teleports again, materializing right in front of him. Lai grows serious. This guy isn't just incredibly fast, his teleportation makes his movements entirely impossible to track. Kong admits that standard attacks won't work against a liquid body. He is a level 6 evolutionist, specializing in short-range teleportation up to 500 meters. Lai unleashes a flurry of rapid attacks, but Kong effortlessly blinks around the room, frustrating the commander. Kong chuckles, admitting that this water ability is incredibly impressive and was definitely not part of their original battle plan. Now, he needs to find a way to neutralize Lai, but in the meantime, they can have some fun. As time slips away, Lai keeps wasting stamina on useless strikes. Lai snaps that they will see how long he can keep dancing around. Kong quickly realizes that Lai's stamina is massive, making it impossible to win a battle of attrition. Suddenly, reinforcements from Faction 17 arrive, shouting that they have secured the rest of the base. Kong gets excited, but as he moves toward them, Lai unleashes a deadly strike. Kong barely teleports away in time. One of the soldiers manifests an energy shield to block the blow. Instantly, Kong reappears behind Lai, firing a bullet directly into his brain, but Lai simply liquefies his skull to let the round pass through. Kong screams that this is their chance, and one of the Faction's 17 elites activates his power, conjuring a massive whirlwind blade that traps the watery commander. Kong cheers, urging him to hold the line, but the wind controller gasps that he cannot contain this monster for long. Trust me, we are in for a wild ride next time. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a chaotic battlefield where Lai literally liquefies to escape. Kong Wu Jiang screams at his squad to hold him down, prompting his ally to forge two massive steel hands to trap the slippery target. Smiling, Kong tells his wind-using comrade to hold the line while he grabs a weapon. Trapped inside that improvised metal cage, Lai thrashes violently to break free. The guy holding the seal is sweating bullets, barely keeping the thrashing monster contained. Kong Wu Jiang rushes back, carrying a massive flamethrower. He blasts the steel hands with roaring fire, aiming to literally cook Lai alive inside his cage. Meanwhile, the rest of Base J-04 collapses into absolute madness. Qin leaps down from the wall, carrying two grown men as he sprints through the brush toward Fang Wu. Fang is stunned to see Qin hauling Fang Wen to safety. Qin explains he managed to rescue him, but the guy remains completely unresponsive. Fang Wu quickly thanks the young warrior, but Qin shrugs it off. He insists that Fang Wen is his friend, so saving him was a no-brainer anyway. Nearby, a woman lifts Ye and questions who this mysterious savior actually is. Fang Wu immediately recognizes him, shocked by his terrible condition. But before anyone can explain a thing, Qin sprints right back toward the burning base. He shouts that Yunlin and the others are still trapped inside and need backup. Fang Wu yells out, asking about Yi, but Qin disappears into the smoke. Meanwhile, Yunlin meets up with Ruyo, asking if she found any trace of Fang Wen. Yunlin shakes her head, revealing that Faction 17 has launched a full-scale invasion. Kong Wu Jiang is locked in a brutal clash with Lai, and things are looking grim. Ruyo urges a retreat, but Yunlin hesitates, terrified for Fang Wen. Qin suddenly bursts into the room, announcing that he already got Fang Wen to safety. He urges everyone to evacuate immediately as Base J-04 goes up in flames. Now pay attention here, because Faction 17 is absolutely brutalizing these innocent civilians. Yunlin watches in horror as a man gets shot right in the leg. Ruyo grimly recalls that they did the exact same horrible things to her home. They know these people are doomed to the same fate. Evil soldiers laugh while dragging a screaming child by the hair. One thug grabs a young girl, slaps her across the face, and snarls that she better submit if she wants her baby brother to survive. The terrified girl weeps, but before the thug can do anything worse, bam! A heavy frying pan smashes directly into his face, courtesy of Qin. The boy crouches down, gently asking if she is all right. Her little brother runs over to hug her tightly. Sparing no time, Qin tells them to hide inside while he drags the unconscious Faction 17 thug away. The boy asks who their savior was, but the weeping girl realizes she forgot to thank him. Over in Sector G04, Qin swiftly drops another enemy, knocking him cold. Ruyo scans the perimeter, confirming this specific area is finally cleared of Faction 17 threats. Yunlin warns that enemies are still roaming elsewhere. Qin declares they must hunt down and eliminate the rest. After all, Captain Lai was using these poor people for twisted human experiments. While Qin has zero desire to rescue the evil captain, Faction 17's soldiers are behaving like rabid dogs, slaughtering innocents. He refuses to let these monsters run wild and vows to hunt them down, one by one. Kong Wujiang laughs maniacally as he roasts Lai, but suddenly spots Wu Yang hurtling toward his men. He screams a warning, and a wind user manages to trap Wu Yang midair. But out of nowhere, an unseen blade slices the fuel line of Kong's flamethrower. It was Wu Yang's doing. Kong Wujiang is absolutely livid about his ruined weapon, but his subordinate tells him to chill because Li has stopped moving inside the cage. Okay, I know what you're thinking, victory, right? Well, think again. The wind user suddenly feels his life force draining away. Kong Wujiang feels it too. Lai is literally stealing their moisture to regenerate. Meanwhile, a girl sent by the Witch Queen tries to wake up Hojami. Observing his battered state, she mocks him, noting he apparently failed yet again while his precious experiment is currently getting roasted alive. Hojami gets up laughing, completely unbothered. He claims that if Lai cannot even survive a simple raid from Faction 17, then the experiment was a failure from the start. Suddenly, Lai triggers a massive explosion. Qin watches from afar as a colossal pillar of fire and smoke erupts. Faction 17 soldiers are blown away like ragdolls, sending Kong Wujiang slamming hard against a wall. Lai is transformed entirely into a terrifying water elemental. Kong Wujiang gapes in absolute shock at this monstrous new form, while Wu Yang panics, wondering if this hideous creature is actually a zombie. Hojami and the girl sprint through the corridors, stopping on a high balcony overlooking the battlefield. He smiles as his creation takes slow, menacing steps. His experiment succeeded, birthing an artificial zombie king. Wu Yang trembles, wondering if that horrific thing is still their captain. Kong Wujiang has no clue what it is, but he knows it is pure evil. Sensing the danger, he screams at his men to run. But his soldiers refuse to retreat, arguing they fought way too hard to give up now. Furious, Kong Wujiang barks at them to stop being idiots. Just then, Lai crouches and launches himself forward. He impacts right behind the two stubborn soldiers, seizing them by their throats. Kong Wujiang panics and unloads his gun, but the bullets pass harmlessly through the liquid beast as Lai rapidly drains his victims dry. One soldier desperately slices off Lai's watery arms. Kong Wujiang screams for them to flee, but the regenerating monster recaptures them in a split second. This time, Lai envelops their heads in spheres of water, suffocating them to death. An enraged Kong Wujiang screams for their release, only for a high-pressure water jet to erupt from Lai's back and impale him instantly. He was skewered right as he tried to teleport away. Lai flings his broken body aside, continuously drinking in the moisture and vitality of his fallen foes, while Wu Yang watches in sheer horror. The survivors wonder if any part of their captain remains, or if he is completely a monster now. Wu Yang states that if he attacks them next, he is definitely just a zombie. Lai discards the desiccated corpses. Wu Yang desperately calls out to see if Lai remembers them, but the beast immediately lunges, piercing an ally through the chest. Qin blurs in from behind to strike, but the zombie king dodges with ease. Qin recoils, wondering if this monster has eyes in the back of its head. The zombie immediately retaliates, and though the boy barely dodges, he notes this beast is vastly quicker and more agile than Yi. Qin weaves through the relentless strikes, analyzing the creature's movements. High above, Hojami rejoices over his masterpiece. The girl agrees it is magnificent, noting the Witch Queen will be ecstatic to hear the news. Hojami explains this zombie is a mutation merging a level 4 and a level 7 evolutionist, though its core remains level 4. Still, it is a massive breakthrough. This is their very first successful creation of its kind. While it is not quite a level 10 zombie king yet, Hojami is confident he has the power to build one soon. Qin keeps evading the onslaught. Meanwhile, Wu Nang's wound miraculously heals, proving the captain is entirely turned. Wu Nang only survived because his comrade activated their symbiosis ability just in time. With symbiosis active, as long as one of them breathes, the other survives. Wu Yang urges that they must subdue the captain immediately, or else everyone here is going to die. Wu Yang hopes Wu Nang has the skills to suppress him, but Wu Nang admits he can only nullify powers of similar to your opponents. Unfortunately, Lai now wields the energy of a level 7 evolutionist. Wu Yang counters that having raw energy does not make him a true level 7, so they have to try. Wu Nang agrees, but points out he cannot even get close to Lai. Yunlin and Ruyo step forward to offer their help, with Ruyo claiming she has a plan to approach the beast. Watching from afar, Hojami is surprised Qin is strong enough to dodge a level 4 zombie king. He is deeply intrigued by how Qin evolved so rapidly, immediately deciding he wants to capture the boy for research. Up above, Yunlin and the others move into position at high speed. Ruyo confirms they are set, noting there is no time to explain the plan to Qin, who is already keeping the monster busy. Her sister will launch them the moment they spot an opening. Wu Nang is baffled by how Yunlin tossed him so far, but she casually remarks that she has carried much heavier loads before. Ruyo warns that Qin cannot hold out forever, so we need to act fast. She keeps her eyes glued to the monster, waiting for that perfect split second to strike. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. All right, you and I are jumping right into a high-stakes standoff as she hoists Wu Nang high. Nearby, the enemy spots them, warning that they are throwing their lives away. And frankly, we can see why. Spotting Wu Nang being carried, Hao remembers his ability. He panics, searching for something while muttering that Wu Nang cannot destroy his experiment. Meanwhile, Ruvio keeps herself completely focused. Spotting an opening, she shouts for her sister to throw, but Hugh Jammy blows a whistle. Instantly, the Zombie King pivots, locking eyes with the group. Ruvio screams for everyone to jump out of the way. A sudden strike flies their way, but Qin intercepts, grabbing the water tentacles. He complains that the zombie is barely focused on him. Unleashing his raw power, he leaps high and tears the tentacles apart. Kitten boasts that they will see how the beast fights without its limbs, but the water Qin holds suddenly dissolves, sending him falling. Suddenly, water wraps completely around Qin's head. Yum is horrified to see the Zombie King controlling severed tentacles. Wu Yang warns that this monster is as strong as Yi was, with the terrifying ability to drain moisture straight from living humans. Yumlin fires her weapon, but Wu Yang warns it is useless against liquid. The bullets pass right through. Desperate, she begs her sister for a plan, fearing Qin will die, but the boy suddenly vanishes. Slipping between dimensions, Qin escapes to the real world. That was incredibly close. He was almost a goner. Hojami is utterly shocked by the disappearance, wondering if the kid possesses two distinct abilities. Qin knows he has to head back immediately because the fight is far from over. Reappearing in the exact same spot, he leaves the Zombie King completely stunned. Qin swiftly dodges the beast's frantic attacks. He jokes that he just needed a quick breather, but he will not get caught again. As he continues evading, Qin realizes that simply dodging is useless against an opponent made entirely of water. Extreme heat is the answer. Our main character realizes that by focusing his energy, he can create a massive heat source. He once destroyed his Zombie King like this, so it should work again. But charging takes time, and we both know he will die before he is ready. Meanwhile, Ho wonders if this is the teleportation power from Faction 17, but the girl says no way. Kong could actually travel to different places, but Qin just vanishes and reappears in the exact same spot. Hao Jammy decides to leave, claiming he has had enough fun for one day. Now they must eliminate the troublemakers and deliver their successful final product to the Witch Queen. Qin knows his plan is highly risky since he has never tried it before. He decides to retreat, charge up, and return. If the plan succeeds, the Zombie King is history. As the monster strikes, Qin vanishes once more, leaving Yumlin startled. Suddenly, a dart-like object flies through the air, hitting her directly. Ruyo panics for her sister as Hojami creeps up from behind. He calmly explains it is just a sedative for ruining his plans. Nearby, Wu Yang and Wu Nang are already knocked out cold. The girl raises a heavy weapon, aiming directly at the spot where Qin vanished, expecting him to materialize at any second. Right on cue, Qin reappears, fully charged with devastating energy. The zombie spots him. The girl pulls the trigger, sending a bullet flying. Kitten gasps as Ruyo throws herself in front of the gun, taking the bullet instead. Kitten watches in total shock. Ruyo collapses to the ground as the boy screams her name. With both sisters down, Ho is taken aback. Roaring with fury, Qin charges at him, his hands radiating pure, volatile energy. Grabbing Ho by the throat, Qin demands to know what he did. The villain is stunned by the power, wondering how a level 4 evolutionist possesses such massive energy. Hojami mutters that Ruyo is still alive. If they stop clashing, they can still save her life. She was shot directly in the chest. Ho protests that Ruyo jumped in front of the bullet themselves, promising to help her if Qin lets him go. Qin lets him go, barely dodging a sudden water attack. Realizing the Zombie King is still active, Ho blows his whistle to halt the beast. It shrinks back to human size, standing obediently before him. Hojami marvels at how obedient the creature is, pleased that his genetic technology actually worked. Qin watches the zombie follow Ho's orders, deeply confused and wondering what is really going on. Laughing, Hu tells him not to worry because the zombie is done fighting. And let's be honest, continuing this clash helps absolutely nobody. Later, Hojami injects an anesthetic toxin to stop Ruyo's bleeding for 2 hours. In that short window, Kin must find a doctor. The sedatives on the others will also wear off in 2 hours, but finding help in this ruined city seems impossible. He orders Huang to leave. The girl stares thoughtfully at Kin, who glares back with absolute hatred. Soon after, Ho Jiami, Huang, and the zombie king depart, leaving them behind in the dust. Far away, a frantic knock rattles Dr. X's door. Opening it, she finds Kin holding a bleeding Ruyo, begging for immediate help. Sensing the extreme urgency, the doctor rushes to prep the operating table. Kin asks if she will survive, but Xiao barks at him to get out. Leaving the room, he wonders why Ruyo threw herself in front of a bullet for him, especially since she always seemed to hate his guts. He thought he was strong. He even dreamed of playing the hero, but he could not even protect the people closest to him. It feels like a sick joke. Inside, Xiao works frantically to operate on Ruyo. She pulls out a major bullet fragment, but the rest are too deep, and her basic equipment is not enough for such a delicate procedure. Emerging from the room, Xiao is met by an anxious Kin. She delivers the grim news that her tools are not enough. Ruyo must be transferred to a high-tech facility immediately. Kin demands to know where this place is, promising to take her. The doctor reveals the closest medical bay is at the Earth Alliance base. Meanwhile, inside that very base, an officer requests a status report. A man with a bionic leg sits nearby, ordering the soldier to speak. The guard reports that 3 outsiders have arrived at the perimeter. One is badly shot, and they are begging for emergency medical aid. They even offered all their supplies in exchange. After a brief silence, the commander orders his men to let them in. Meanwhile, back in the city streets, a car speeds through the ruins. Inside the car, Ho Jiami thanks Huang for her gunfire, admitting he might have lost without it. Huang is confused, pointing out that Ruvio blocked the shots anyway. Ho Jiami explains that was the plan to distract Kin. If the boy had unleashed his full energy, it would have ruined everything. He cannot allow any mistakes with his first successful experiment. Huang argues that even a powerful Kin could not have escaped the 3 of them. But Ho replies that the time is not right. High-quality seeds must grow into great trees before harvest. Kin is highly unique, and Ho is deeply curious about his evolutionary limits. He wants to wait for the perfect moment, as the boy will eventually become an incredibly valuable resource. Back at the doctor's base, Xiao asks Kin if he is sure about entering enemy territory given his past conflicts with the Earth Alliance. Kin insists he must go, as Ruyo is running out of time. The massive gates creak open. Kin tells the doctor to wait outside. The moment he steps in, the heavy gates slam shut, bringing him face to face with a very much alive Kichi, who silently turns away. A soldier escorts Kin to see their leader. Following closely, Kin enters to find the commander, who grins and says it has been far too long, admitting he has been eagerly awaiting Kin's return. It turns out the leader loved the canned meat and was desperate for more trades. Kin reassures him, offering an even larger supply of food to keep him fully satisfied. He presents them as peace offerings for his past attitude. Thrilled, the leader happily sweeps the past under the rug, noting that even Kichi makes mistakes. Hearing this, Kin breathes a sigh of relief. The commander understands that Kin came purely to save his dying friend. With such generous gifts, he promises not to refuse medical help, but warns that he needs a massive favor in return. If Kin agrees, his friend gets the best medical care available. Kin accepts instantly, but as the commander mentions an old mine, you and I know this deal is about to get complicated. All right, you and I are about to uncover a wild story where a mine holds rich minerals. But the moment the first exploration team descended, they completely lost contact. The Lord sent a second group, then a third, but not a single soul ever returned. Now, the miners are absolutely terrified to go down there, but the Lord desperately needs this mine fully operational. Even with insane rewards offered, the miners refuse to budge, so the Lord begs Kin to go down, uncover the truth, and rescue the survivors. Our main character agrees, but only if his sick friend gets top-tier medical treatment in the city. No problem there. The Lord agrees to have her picked up immediately. Meanwhile, Kin must head to the mine with one of the Lord's subordinates. After getting briefed on the details, Kin heads down. He walks through the dark tunnels for what feels like an eternity. 30 minutes pass in absolute, suffocating silence until he completely loses his sense of time. Suddenly, something catches his eye. The tunnel splits right down the middle. To avoid getting lost, he quickly marks the stone walls before heading down one of the paths. Kin keeps walking, seeing absolutely nothing unusual, and starts wondering if this is all some sick joke. But then a faint sound echoes a woman weeping. Kin carefully approaches a dark corner, spotting a figure sobbing deeply in the shadows. Kin calls out, asking if she is okay. No answer. Who is she, and how did she even get down here? Is she a ghost? Getting impatient, Ken yells out, demanding to know if she is a phantom or a zombie. But the woman does not budge. Annoyed, the boy snaps that she is just trying to scare him, but he is not that easily rattled. Kin steps closer and aims his flashlight directly at her. She turns, revealing a horrifying, pale face with pitch-black hollow pits for eyes. Terrified, Kin bolts, but the girl desperately screams for him to wait, claiming she is actually human. Apparently, his flashlight and his own wild imagination made her look like a monster. Startled, Ken calms down and they sit. He grumbles that if she were human, she should have spoken up sooner. The girl explains she thought he was just another hallucination, so she stayed quiet. Having been trapped there alone for so long, she assumed she would die in the dark. Ken falls silent, thinking. He asks if she has eaten and offers her some of his rations. Grateful, she accepts. He notes she doesn't look like a miner and asks why she is here. She explains she is no miner, but they fled down here to escape the zombie horde. Kin asks if there are other survivors with her, but instead of answering, she suddenly hugs him. Shivering, she complains about the freezing cold and asks if she can stay close to him. Kin gently tells her they cannot linger because he has a mission to finish. She whispers that it has been forever since she saw another living person, and she just wants to feel his warmth for a bit. Nervously, Kin lets her. She thanks him, nuzzling close to his neck while muttering about her long isolation. Suddenly feeling something incredibly off, Kid pushes her back, demanding to know what she is doing. She casually replies that she likes him and they should just live together, suddenly planting a kiss right on his lips. As she leans in for more, the boy shoves her away, shouting at her to stop. Kin accuses her of being a ghost trying to suck his life force. She insists she is alive, pointing out her warm body heat, something spirits definitely do not have. Confused, Kin agrees, but then she instantly tries to snuggle up again. Gulping, the boy rejects her, saying he has an important job to do first. He decides to guide her out to a safe place. Together, they begin walking back through the dark tunnels. Before long, she whines about her legs hurting, asking how much further they have to walk. Kin is totally baffled. He followed his own wall marks. Hearing her complain again, he looks down and realizes she has no shoes. She explains she lost them while running for her life. Kin reluctantly hoists her onto his back. Smiling, she calls him incredibly sweet. As they walk, she playfully pinches his ears, teasing that they are turning bright red. Kin snaps at her to stop touching his ears. Pouting, she retracts her compliment, calling him a mean jerk. Frustrated, he explains he just wanted some space, but she playfully giggles that teasing him is too much fun. Ken begs her to stop squeezing his waist so tightly. He starts realizing that the further they walk, the more lost they get. Clinging to him, she nervously asks if they are trapped in some kind of phantom maze. Kinnan fires back that he knows nothing of haunted mazes, but he definitely ended up with a crazy girl in red. She gasps in offense. Suddenly, Kin freezes as a group of men emerges from the darkness. Kenan assumes they are the missing exploration team, relieved to find them all in one piece. One of the men asks if Kin is lost as well, claiming they just discovered the exit and telling him to tag along. But pay attention to this, the girl terrifiedly whispers in his ear to stay away, warning him they are not human. Ken realizes it is incredibly fishy that they claim to know the exit. Besides, how could they even know he was here? But when he turns his head, the girl on his back is gone, completely vanished. A cold sweat breaks out on his neck as he wonders what is real. The men urge Tin to follow, warning him that this mine is a giant maze he cannot survive alone. Grinning, Kin agrees to tag along, secretly determined to find out what these guys are hiding. Standing back in the shadows, the girl in red watches Kin leave. She sighs, wishing she could have played with him longer, noting she warned him. Soon, one of the men announces they have finally arrived. Ahead lies a blinding, bright light looking exactly like the exit. Kin wonders if these men actually told the truth. Before he can think, one of them urges him to stop spacing out and hurry up. Kin steps forward into the light, but what he sees makes his jaw drop. Nestled deep inside the cavern is an entire underground village. How on earth is this even possible? The men proudly present their new guest to the village chief. Excited children rush over, clinging to Kin's hands and begging him to play, though the elderly chief gently tells them to settle down. You and I both know the apocalypse is usually pure chaos, filled with starving, terrified survivors. But these people are unbelievably peaceful, a sight he has never witnessed since the world ended. Inside a cozy wooden house, Kin sits before a massive feast. A sweet old grandmother serves him, hoping he loves the meal. Baffled, he asks if they farm down here, and she proudly nods, saying everything is homegrown. Beaming with a warm smile, she piles his plate high and insists he dig in. Kin raises the food to his mouth, but suddenly freezes. The old woman is staring at him with a bizarre, manic intensity. Inside a dark, rotting wooden shed lies a grotesque mutant zombie constructed from fused human bodies. The old woman walks in, reverently whispering prayers to this horrific creature, as if it were a god. She tells her deity that a strong young newcomer has joined them. She feels incredibly blessed to watch their community expand, believing all of their prosperity is entirely due to its divine presence. Grateful for the protection keeping them alive, she raises a heavy cleaver and chops off a chunk of flesh from the living monster. As it drops onto her tray, she softly mutters her thanks. And yes, that is the exact meat sitting on Kin's plate right now. The woman aggressively presses him to eat, but he politely declines. Her expression hardens as she demands he take at least one bite. Unnerved by the thick tension, Kin apologizes again, absolutely refusing to touch the plate. Spotting his stubbornness, the old woman quickly forces her smile back, claiming she will just cook him something else for dinner. Instead, she calls the local children over and hands them the dish. They eagerly devour the mystery meat. Watching them eat so happily, Kin wonders if he is just being paranoid about everything. Later, Kinnan pulls a miner aside, asking how to reach the Earth Alliance base. The man looks surprised, asking why he wants to leave so soon instead of settling down in their paradise. Kinnan chuckles, explaining he has urgent matters to attend to elsewhere. The miner warns that the only exit is the treacherous path he came from, adding that while the journey is extremely dangerous, the mine's natural defense keeps them completely safe from the undead. They are eternally grateful to their chief for saving them, and he pushes once more, reminding Kin that this place has more than enough resources for a comfortable life. While this place seems like a post-apocalyptic heaven, something deeply sinister is brewing underneath. And trust me, you and I are going to find out what, because by nightfall, Kin completely vanishes. All right, let us dive into a mystery where a boy might have fled back into the tunnels, leaving the village chief frantic to find him before he is trapped in the caves forever. A villager points out that the hour is near. The village chief nods, agreeing they cannot keep their god waiting. First, they must pay their respects, and only then will they search for the lost boy. With the crowd gathered, the chief prays for their deity to keep feeding the village. The people willingly hold out their arms, and right on cue, the grotesque abomination unleashes its terrifying tentacles. The fleshy tendrils latch onto their flesh, draining them to satisfy the beast. As it feeds, the chief tells the creature to be patient, more nourishment is already on the way. The newly arrived miners need their own introduction to their god. On the chief's command, the clueless men are ushered in, wondering aloud why the village elder wanted to speak with them so late. The old man grins, announcing it is time for their initiation. The heavy door slams shut behind them. Coming face to face with the towering abomination, they scream in pure terror, realizing it is a massive mutant zombie. They scramble for the exit, but the villagers block their path. The horrified miners scream, asking if everyone here has lost their minds, but the chief just calmly tells them to relax. He claims the beast is harmless, walking right up to the massive horror. True to his word, the mutant zombie leaves him untouched. Smiling, the chief reassures the trembling miners there is absolutely nothing to fear. As the men hesitantly step forward, the elder casually asks if they enjoyed their dinner. One miner nods, admitting the food was actually delicious. It was their first real meal in years. The elder sighs, recalling a time before the fall when fresh meat was everywhere. But after the end of the world, 90% of all animals became infected. Survival meant eating tainted flesh, a slow poison that guarantees you will not live past 40. The chief admits he was once on the brink of death himself until he found this sanctuary. Their entire community owes its survival to this creature. As long as the villagers supply it with fresh blood, their deity rewards them by growing clean, edible meat from its own body. Now pay attention, because the sick truth is about to drop. The miners realize the meat they just ate came directly from that pulsing, mutant monster. By feeding it human blood, the monster constantly regenerates. The chief points to the pulsing, pink flesh growing on the beast, leaving the men entirely paralyzed with disgust. The old man smiles, reminding them they just feasted on this very flesh. Right then, the beast groans, sprouting fresh tumors of meat, causing the terrified miners to instantly vomit. Rough hands grab them as the elder declares it is time to feed their god. They are pinned down, dragged, kicking and screaming toward the monster as the slithering tentacles creep closer. Meanwhile, Kin wanders through the dark. No matter which path he takes, he keeps looping back to the start. It seems the only true escape is back through the cave. Suddenly, muffled screams echo from the barn. A miner is begging for mercy, calling the chief a madman. Before Kin can investigate, the mysterious girl in red appears out of nowhere, telling him to stop. She warns him they are already zombie food. Startled by her silent approach, Kin demands to know if she is a human or a ghost. She ignores his question, asking if he wants to escape. She explains that this entire village is an illusion. Ever since he crossed the threshold, he has actually been stepping deeper and deeper into the land of the dead. Nobody ever leaves this place. They are trapped in a cycle of sacrificing blood to stay alive. If Kin wants to break free, he has to kill the monster. Once it dies, the illusion crumbles. Kin is skeptical, questioning why he should trust a complete stranger. She simply tells him to look for himself. Hearing another blood-curdling scream, they creep toward the barn window. I know what you were thinking. This is absolutely twisted. These starving villagers sacrifice their own blood to feed a zombie, just to eat the meaty tumors growing from its flesh. Unable to watch, Kin roars for them to stop. The girl frantically tries to hold him back, but he ignores her warnings. Channeling his power, he demands they release the prisoners. With a swift strike, he shreds the creature's tentacles. The chief panics. Kin yells that this monstrosity needs to die, but the old man desperately leaps directly in front of the blade. Kin accidentally slashes the elder instead, stopping in absolute disbelief. He cannot comprehend why anyone would shield a zombie. Bleeding, the old man begs him to spare the creature. Kin shouts that it is a parasite draining their lives, not a god. But tears fill the old man's eyes as he reveals the shocking truth. It is not a monster. It is his brother. He remembers their past, back when they were young and happy. He had brought home fresh apples for his little brother. The boy asked when their parents would return, but he just told him to watch cartoons. Then, the world collapsed, overrun by the undead. He tried to quiet his terrified little brother as they fled with a group of survivors, eventually stopping in a building to rest. His brother cried, asking what would happen if the monsters found them. He promised to protect him, but as the boy slept, the horde breached their defenses, waking him in pure panic. The older brother held the door shut against the swarming zombies, but it was giving way. Realizing he was bitten, he screamed for the others to grab his little brother and run. A woman screamed Jang Hong's name as his little brother, Xiaolu, begged to stay. But Jang roared for them to leave, telling Xiaolu he had to survive because as long as he lived, hope remained. The woman dragged the weeping boy away as the barricade finally collapsed, and the undead swarmed over Jang Hong, burying him beneath the ravenous horde. Down the road, Xiaolu collapsed, completely broken by grief. The woman urged him to keep moving, but the boy begged them to leave him behind. Refusing to give up, she tried to lift him. If they lingered, they would all die. Xiaolu sobbed, blaming himself for his brother's sacrifice, crying out that he was nothing but a burden who caused his family's death. She slapped him, telling him to snap out of it. She asked if he had already forgotten his brother's final wish, that Xiaolu must survive to keep their hope alive. He had to live on for both of them. 10 years later, during a torrential downpour, a grown Xiaolu took shelter inside an old building while zombies battered the walls outside. A survivor warns that getting bitten out there would be fatal. Their 22-year-old doctor, Xiaolu, calmly treats their wounds and tells everyone to stay inside until the heavy rain finally stops. The scavengers praise Xiaolu, noting they would be lost without him. In this wasteland, a brilliant doctor is worth more than 3 powerful evolutionists. They joke about buying him a drink once they return to base. Suddenly, a massive crash echoes through the halls. The door splinters as zombies pour in, shocking the scout, who swore the area was clear. One soldier screams to grab their gear and run, but another yells that they are out of time. Drawing their weapons, they desperately engage the invading horde. Xiaolu shouts for them to evacuate the wounded, but the sheer volume of monsters overwhelms them. Tripping, the young doctor falls, screaming in terror as a beast lunges for his throat, but the monster suddenly freezes. Miraculously, the entire horde stops their vicious assault. Trembling, Xiaolu looks up and gasps in shock, recognizing that the zombie standing protectively over him is his long-lost older brother. Later, the survivors return to camp loaded with resources. Everyone rushes to assist, though one scavenger grumbles that the wooden crate he is carrying is insanely heavy. As they leave the mysterious, thudding box for their doctor, the story skips ahead months later with a desperate soldier begging Xiaolu to save a life. Let us see how this unravels next time. Alright, you and I are kicking off today's recap with a dark secret that this doctor is desperately trying to cover up as he rolls a fresh corpse down the hallway to a hidden room. Stepping into a room packed with cold corpses, the doctor sighs in relief. Finally, a fresh meal for his starving brother. Even in this brutal apocalypse, finding the perfect body is surprisingly difficult. A terrifying zombie emerges, staring at the fresh meat with a creepy smile. The young doctor explains he sedated the patient to ensure a peaceful passing, begging his monster brother to eat slowly, but the beast tears in violently. He completely devours the corpse. The next day, the hospital director arrives with some serious questions for Dr. John. Rumors are spreading that some patient records do not add up, and the director demands to see the files. Panicking, the young doctor nervously claims he got the dates mixed up due to his massive, overwhelming workload. The director sighs, agreeing that keeping perfect files is impossible in this post-apocalyptic chaos. He tells John to focus on his patients and promises to handle the issue personally, earning a grateful thank you from the doctor. Later, John sneaks in another body, realizing his brother's hunger is spiraling out of control. If this keeps up, someone will definitely notice, but he promises the beast he will find a permanent solution. He urges the hideous, mutated zombie to finish up fast. Suddenly, the door flies open. John freezes in terror as the director walks in, demanding to know what the doctor has done. Scattered across the floor are the horrific remains of the patient. Desperate, the boy begs the director to listen, promising that his zombie brother is harmless and he can explain everything. Screaming in panic, the director orders the guards to be summoned immediately. John desperately yells for him to stop, but his zombie brother snaps, unleashing a sudden, devastating blow that brutally takes the director down in an instant. Ultimately, the director's death only sealed their fate. The guards arrived, forcing John and his brother to flee and hide deep inside the mines. But in John's eyes, his monster brother only acted in self-defense. Now pay attention, because we are about to see the dark truth behind this village. The old man begs Kin for mercy, claiming his brother saved them, but the girl in red shouts that they sacrificed innocent people. All along, their dirty secret was feeding that monster. Yet, an old woman speaks up, insisting it was their own choice to worship this deity because it was the only way they survived. It is their life to live. Angered, the girl asks if they already forgot trying to force the poor miners to join them. But the old woman calmly replies that the first offering is always difficult. After that, it gets much easier. Everyone here willingly offers their own blood to their savior, and Kin decides that if they truly want this twisted life, he will not interfere. However, Kin warns them that his group refuses to stay trapped in this underground prison forever. The village chief nods, promising that if Kin wishes to depart, he will ask his brother to allow it. The old man commands his zombie brother to let them go, and the creature suddenly tears open a portal. Kin and the girl stare in absolute shock. She is furious that she spent years trapped here. Kin turns to the crowd and asks who wants to escape with him. Silence. Not a single person moves. Even the miners refuse, choosing this safe prison over the harsh world outside, despite the girl's pleas. Kin realizes that if he killed the creature and forced them out, he would destroy their peace. In this brutal apocalypse, life outside is far worse than living in fear of a monster underground. The surface world is an absolute nightmare. A portal tears open in the dense jungle, and Kin steps through alone, wondering why nobody else chose freedom. Meanwhile, a scout rushes to the Lord with a report. Kin Shuang has returned and demands an audience. The Lord grants him entry, eagerly asking how the mission went. Kin bows his head, apologizing because he could not complete the task due to unexpected complications. Slamming his fist onto the table, the Lord is furious. That was not their agreement. He saved Kin's friend, expecting a successful mission in return. He kept his side of the bargain, but Kin failed. Kin argues that he can still secure the requested supplies and keep his word. But the Lord coldly objects, stating that the contract is already broken and no cheap compensation can change that fact. If Kin tries to rewrite the rules, his friend will pay the price with her life. Kin seethes with rage, but the Lord suddenly bursts into laughter. He claims it is a joke, but now Kin owes him 2 favors. For now, the Lord sends Kin to visit his recovering friend. At the hospital, Rue lies quietly in bed. The surgeon explains they successfully extracted the bullet fragments, and her fast healing will have her up in a week. You and I both know something creepy is going on here. Kin thinks he hears a voice calling Rue beautiful, but the doctor denies saying a single word. Feeling deeply unsettled, Kin wonders if he is losing his mind. Later that night, as he falls asleep, a bizarre sensation wakes him up. There is a distinct, creepy movement directly under his blanket. Yanking the covers off, Kin is shocked to find the ghost girl hiding inside. In a pure reflex, he kicks her right across the room. She groans, asking if he has any human decency at all. Kin sighs in relief, admitting he thought an actual evil spirit was trying to grab him. Offended, she snaps that she is not a ghost and actually has a real name, Jay. Kin asks if she is all right. Jay decides to overlook the kick since he helped her escape the hellish mines. Kin rolls over, trying to sleep, and tells her to go home. Frustrated, she begs him not to ignore her, promising she has a way to repay him. She explains she hates owing people favors because of the immense guilt, promising that if he lets her repay him, he absolutely will not regret it. Kin remains quiet, then suddenly pulls her close by the arm. Blushing, she tells him not to rush, but he just asks for silence, explaining he has not slept in days. He gently hugs her and pats her head until morning. Waking up to an empty room, Qin wonders where Jay vanished. Meanwhile, the Lord orders Qin Shuang to be brought to him, realizing that escaping the mine and defeating Kixi was definitely not mere luck. With those two massive favors, the Lord plans to secure Qin's strength to make his base impenetrable. He has always invested heavily in defenses, making this fortress legendary. Suddenly, a guard rushes in to report some urgent news. The troops sent to capture Qin found his quarters completely empty. Shocked and outraged, the Lord demands to know if his recovering friend is still under guard at the hospital. Furious at the thought of being betrayed, the Lord storms out into the streets, terrifying the local citizens. A soldier quickly reports that while Qin is missing, his injured friend is still in her bed, meaning he cannot escape. The Lord growls, reminding the soldier his only job was to watch Qin. The terrified guard begs for mercy, but the Lord grabs the man by his head, muttering that keeping such useless trash alive is a total waste of food. The guard screams that he will track Qin down, but the Lord only squeezes his skull even tighter. Suddenly, Qin calls out from the crowd, stepping forward with a calm smile. He announces he has brought an incredible gift that the leader absolutely cannot turn down. Stunned, the Lord demands to know where he was hiding and how he evaded the guards. Qin chuckles, casually explaining he had to leave the base to prepare this special present. He remarks that if he had arrived a few minutes later, that poor soldier's head would have exploded. 4 hours earlier, Qin realized the heavy guard presence meant the Lord was keeping him prisoner. Knowing the leader's dark, fake personality from before, he knew he had to slip away immediately. Acting fast, Qin used his unique power to make a dimensional jump, crossing over back to the modern, peaceful world. Sitting in front of a computer, he began searching for the highest-rated local restaurants. Scrolling through the reviews, he finally picked the ultimate dining spot. But upon arrival, he was greeted by a massive, endless line. Qin would have to wait quite a while to get inside. Standing in line, he considers cutting ahead using his extreme speed, but decides that would be incredibly impolite. Suddenly, a server opens the door, announcing they only have enough ingredients left for the next 3 customers. Qin is thrilled to make the cut, but an angry guy pops up behind him. "Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this fight ends." Suddenly, a rude guy shoves past the line, demanding if the hostess knows who he is. The employee replies that he is just some online influencer, while another girl speaks up, saying that even famous celebrities must follow the rules. The influencer throws a massive tantrum, complaining about the incompetent staff. Qin watches from the side, muttering that this guy is completely unhinged and has no business being a famous celebrity. The hostess politely guides Qin inside to enjoy his lunch, but right before he can enter, the angry guy grabs his shoulder. Qin glares back, telling him to let go of him immediately. And that is where we leave things. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you and I can see what happens in the next episode.